Guys, certifications, schooling, you name it, it can be some of the biggest ways you can really impact your people. But I also find it can be one of the biggest ways you can limit your potential in terms of treating who is in front of you. Today, I got a guest with me, one of probably the coolest holistic practitioners that I've met, because we think very similarly in terms of acquiring knowledge, practicing knowledge, distilling knowledge. And I got my buddy here with me, Yoni. Welcome, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Dude, so I want to start out a little bit because it's special. You bring a special energy. When you first walked into this facility, I already knew you walked in, right? I was actually in a bad mood. Like, to be fairly transparent, my wife was like, you're going to meet this guy, Yoni, and Sundays, normally I'm a possum. I'm like, dude, I don't want to talk to anybody. And the moment you instantly walk in, you had this like aura of peace. And I was like, okay, I see why my wife wanted me to meet this guy. I want to start out there just really quickly
Yeah.
because I think it's special. I don't know, a lot of people know that they bring this level of peace when they walk into a room. Is it intentional? Was it always like that? Like, where did you get that?
Okay. First of all, definitely, I wasn't always this way. I was
Okay.
always joyful,
Mhm.
but my family and friends would say I'm unrecognizable to who I was a couple of years ago.
Wow.
Um,
Please tell me what
yeah.
what was that?
I think it used to be a lot more anxious energy, a lot more
Mhm.
like kind of like one of my friends described it as like I used to be a tornado and now I'm the eye
No
of
way.
it. So,
Okay.
but I used to be like a lot going on,
Yeah.
and now it's more of like there's a lot going on, and then I'm
Yeah.
here. So it's a little bit more. I would say all that energy is like coalescing
Yeah.
here in this body
S-
more and more. It's
Yeah.
still progress, but yeah.
How long ago was this? Years?
Yeah, I would say. I guess I would say for me. When you say this, you mean like the peace presence.
Yeah.
I think I see noticeable differences in myself like month by month. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like 1 month where it changed. I would say
Mhm.
there's a couple of like notable moments, notable things that
Yeah.
really changed like the game for me.
Yeah.
But I would say it was more of like once I got a taste of me, I got a taste of what it's like to be
at
here.
peace. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say like when all those judgments, thoughts, the emotion stories can go away and you can just be.
Mhm.
It's interesting because like I never realized that's what I'm giving off
Mhm.
until like, people gave me that feedback.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm just, you know what? I can't make them happy. I'm just gonna be with myself here and see what
Mhm.
happens.
I love it.
And ironically, that's the image it gives off. But
Yeah.
it was never. I never knew that's what it was giving off.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I want to round this back up because we
Okay.
were just talking about the school and
Sure.
education side of this.
Okay.
I think path and purpose has to do a lot with pain. And I'm rounding it back up
Mhm.
because you were telling me you were anxious prior to
Yeah.
this. I want to talk about that, like your path
Sure.
and where it is now.
Yeah.
How did you find what you're practicing to be your practice?
Yeah, okay. I would say, I mean, I started off as maybe going back, I studied to be a rabbi. So that was a lot of my,
Fascinating.
yeah, I spent about 14 years in yeshiva, which is like considered a religious institution, much like if you see like monks in like the Himalayas, like all wearing a certain robe, like I wore a certain clothing and I just studied for about 10 hours a day. Most of it was reading ancient texts.
Mhm.
I think there were things that came up for me, certain traumas, certain moments of where I started questioning the validity and the truth of the rabbis above me.
Mhm.
So it made me kind of question my purpose and where I'm headed. So I started my own path, towards therapy as well.
Mhm.
And I was thinking maybe therapy would be like a backup in case rabbi didn't work out type of approach.
Okay.
After a certain amount of time, I just realized the rabbi approach wasn't for me. I found myself over time, especially as I was like leaving the traditional orthodox way of the religion,
Mhm.
finding myself really questioning, like, wait, where does this end? Where do I begin? Like a lot of questions that people just like assumed and like were
Mhm.
now questions to me. Like, do I get to have what I want in life?
Yes.
Is there right or wrong? Is there heaven and hell? Like, is there good or bad? Is
Mhm.
there are values something that's objective or subjective? Like a lot of questions of like how happy can I be or upset, or do I have the choice to live my life?
Yeah.
Um, so I would say I probably went the therapy route I probably went to about 30 therapists. I went to so many different therapists
No way.
to try.
Okay.
And at a certain point, I saw it as kind of like everyone had something valuable to offer.
Mhm.
And what they had to offer was their own personal journey, really. I mean, they
Mhm.
put in a therapy lens, but
Mhm.
everyone had their own story of how to see things, like every human does. And instead, they put like the therapy jacket on. And now it's professional, and now you
Yes.
pay me to give you my perception of life.
Right.
So at some point, it was clear to me like I'm going here, and they're asking about me, and then they're just projecting with their story, which is
Mhm.
interesting. So I started like gaining knowledge in that way, but I found myself hindered
Yeah.
back. So when I started, I would say that one of the biggest game changers was number one is accessing emotions as a truth,
Mhm.
as not as a like a kind of like maybe I was raised as more of like, oh, it's a animalistic or just like childish part of us,
Mhm.
as opposed to going like there's wisdom in these gut sensations and emotions that if I could get into a certain state, I can actually learn from these emotions. They're telling me something. Let's say anger, like that can tell us something's wrong, something needs to change. It could
Mhm.
tell us there's a certain action I need to take. So
Yes.
I found myself going like, okay, emotions are a big part. And then from there, it was more of connecting more to the body. So
Okay.
realizing like this body is like a warehouse of power, of skills, of like, it's almost like I would question like, why didn't God give us a manual? And like, all right, guys, every like 30 years, just like send a little like flyer in the sky, be like,
Yeah.
keep up the good work, don't chop the trees down,
Yeah.
lower your electric bill,
Yeah.
and then like go off,
Yeah.
thanks. Like, why is there no information? And then I realized like the information is so obvious when you're connected to your body, like what you need to do and who you need to do and who you need to be is
Mhm.
so clear and so obvious that it's like, of course there was no sign because there like it's obvious.
It's obvious. You can see
And
it. You can feel it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was the I guess if I had to summarize like 10 years of my own, 15 years of my own growth in this area, that was probably the next stage is recognizing that the body is a storehouse of information,
Mhm.
and then having a relationship with this body.
Mhm.
And that was I say is a little later on. Like, what is this body telling me? How do I relate with it? How do I make a mutual relationship between my mind and this body? Like, how do they
Mhm.
connect better and in a symbiotic relationship?
Right.
You know, yeah.
Where did you stem more? Are you more on the depression side or anxious side when you found your
Definitely anxious side. I have like bouts of where I get like sad. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
But I would say the overall mentality I would find myself is, overall I'm feeling nice, but
Yeah.
the anxious is where I would have gone a couple years ago. A couple years ago, there's definitely
Yeah.
I would definitely go to like I would say maybe I'm trying to remember how old am I now. I was like I think when I was like 21,
Yeah.
22. I think I was 22 then. I had like really debilitating anxiety. I remember like just curling into ball. I remember like going to an event or going on a date and I'm like, I gotta use the bathroom and like walk
Oh,
out and put the
wow.
dryer on. So it's
Yeah.
like, ooh, it's like I'm
Yeah.
like, ah. I
Yeah.
was like just like I have these panic attacks, really
Mhm.
debilitating. And I went to therapy and they're like, let's talk about your mom. Let's talk about
Mhm.
at some point I'm like, well, my mom is fine. I don't know
Yeah.
why you keep asking about her.
Yeah.
So it was it was very debilitating to the point where, I struggle with while I was able to present myself well, I knew how to like talk the
Yeah.
talk, but there were times when like the AC would go on and I'd have a panic attack, or someone would walk by and just the sounds of the footsteps would throw me
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and I felt kind of hopeless,
Yeah.
helpless, yeah.
So you had the 30 therapists
I
and
tried
where
so many different approaches, and I wouldn't
yeah.
say any of them really helped with,
Yeah.
like, when I look at, like, level of help. I would say most of them they probably did more damage than help.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense because like they're using like you started off with credentials
Yeah.
as opposed to like just thinking and listening for themselves. Like it's like when you're with someone, there's a natural intuitive knowledge that
Yes.
goes on, and you can go like, let's say if in your profession, like in your area line of work, whatever you want to call this,
Mm-hmm.
uh, exchange. So it's like you might notice someone who's not having the same energy, and you might notice like I think for this guy it's more mental actually,
Yes.
and someone else you're gonna be like, what, this guy needs to uptake, some more protein. Like, I don't know. Like, so you'll
Mm-hmm.
have certain like this natural knowledge, like depending on the person or based on a few questions, it'll lead you a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, in the professional fields, like of therapy, of medical field, they make people feel like they really know what they're talking about because they have a lot of research that someone fed you,
Mm-hmm.
as if that answers all of humanity's problems. Like for the past 10,000 years, philosophers, yogis,
Mm-hmm.
spiritual practices and religions all were questioning how to find happiness for humans that's sustainable. How
Mm-hmm.
do we create real functional, high power humans? And then like a therapy came around 200 years ago, and they're like, we got it.
We figured it
And we
out.
don't need anyone else's help. We don't need any other perspectives. And I come from Vienna, like a small town. My name is
Yeah.
Freud. It's like, yeah, so you
Yeah.
figured it all out for the whole world, for 8 billion people
Yeah.
in the matter of 100 years. It sounds pretty haughty,
It is. Yeah.
Um,
I can
yeah.
relate. I can relate to that. One, because I was so fixated on the CPT certifications when I was a trainer, and I just dove into it. I took NASM, CPT, CES, but everything was in the NASM umbrella. And there was this particular person that I was watching squatting, and it was a different squatting formula. But granted, I felt like I knew everything, even though my knees hurt, my back hurt, my
Right.
shoulders hurt.
It was like you'd be able to
You
push
know,
that away
it was like,
somehow,
no,
even though
that's normal, right? It's because of this. And then I'm watching them squat, and it's their feet is out really wide. In the NASM formula, it's feet straight,
Mhm.
right? And the knees have to be really linear. But I was watching it, and it just kind of just blew my mind. And then I was like, okay, does he look better than me?
Mm.
And yeah, dude, this guy was unreal. So it kind of just poked a little hole, and I was like, okay, what's going on? And then I got into the realm of, and then that I saw that, then I started seeing more people. And it frustrated me because one, I'm having all this knee pain. And then eventually there was another person, very similar to you actually.
Mhm.
His name is Amir.
Mhm.
Very like holistic level
Mhm.
type of knowledge where he just learned everything. I
Mhm.
didn't know you can learn more than one cert.
Mhm.
He was like, no, man, there's a lot of world records set like that. And there's world records set like how you're doing right now. Everyone's really, really different. And then I started to dive into other things. I think one of the biggest things that practitioners do is they isolate into one area for so long that they limit their human godly abilities.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I found that to be like one of the things that I learned throughout my practice. And then the moment I broke off of that, I realized I knew nothing. And now I still don't know anything because I'm still watching so many people. It's a very interesting path for me.
I think something that gets me thinking about, it's like there's so many people on like the healing wellness path, and there's so few people who are actually well.
Yeah.
And I always wonder like what is it? And I'm wondering like there's a part of you that could have said that guy's a weirdo, he's off, something he's probably lying, he's probably going home to mad backaches. And there's some part of you that was like, no, like there's something here, you know? And I wonder if it's like there was a party that was like almost like I prefer to be uncomfortable or be wrong.
First it was judgment, then it became curiosity for me. Like maybe I am wrong.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, plenty of other people have seen this guy. He's not hiding,
Not hiding,
right? And not everyone who saw him got inspired to change. So there's something that you were doing at that moment that was something about you, the way you think about things or process things, your value system, something about you was able to see that and then change. Because many people have their defense mechanisms up. Like for me in my practice, like I probably trigger more therapists than clients. because I'm like, of course you can heal trauma. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
anxiety, couple
Yeah.
sessions, OCD, easy,
Yeah,
you know?
PTs too for
Yeah.
me.
What do you
Yeah.
say?
Like physical therapists for me too.
Right. Well, what do you mean?
I trigger them a lot.
Oh, because you're telling them to
'Cause
do stuff that are against the
yeah.
rules, or
Well, there's like the whole shoulder labrum thing. So I was like, that guy's 350 pounds. You can have him do that all day, or you can have him walk for miles. And I think that's going to be more impactful than what you're doing with their arms.
right,
And it would trigger them.
right.
And I'm like, I'm just telling you the
Right.
truth.
And for
know?
some reason, they're unable to hear it. And I think what creates that, like, that quantum leap or that growth, exponential growth, is something
Mhm.
about. I think there's a position of like, I know I am a certified da da da. I am a.
Mhm.
And like I find this interesting, like with therapists too. Therapists like really cling on to their profession, their skills,
Yeah.
often like really suck.
Yeah.
I found this like correlation. People who are
Yeah.
like really credentialed, really like I have this certification, this thing, and it's almost like I think it's the inability to really use their own mind.
Yeah. Why do you think
You
they
know?
hold on to that for so long? Because I've held on to it.
Yeah, I think because if you let go of that, then maybe there's a part of us that isn't fully whole, that's a
Yeah.
little broken.
Yeah.
And when we have a nice fat certification or a nice degree or a nice DR in front of my name or LMFT behind it, something like that, it gives me a sense of like I deserve to exist. I deserve to
I'm
be.
worthy. I'm
I'm worthy.
useful.
Yeah, it's something that allows us to feel like I
Yeah.
belong here.
Yeah.
You know, so whatever that story is,
Yeah.
and it's like self-medicating.
It
You know, it
is.
just gives people a sense of like, yeah, I'm good,
Mhm.
even though they're not. So then you got like, what about your knee pain? I don't know. That's normal.
It's like that's an anomaly. You're
Yeah.
different.
Right. So it's I wonder if it's like there's a part of us that's a little broken, and until we resolve that, uh, we need things to make us feel better. Like I remember talking to a therapist once, and we were both in the eating disorder community for a long time, and she would open up a lot of treatment centers, and
Mhm.
at some point she was like, Yoni, you know, I don't need any more certifications to feel good about myself.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need any more degrees. I don't need a doctorate anymore. Like, I'm good. I don't need more to be enough.
Yeah.
Like, you know, for me, it was so funny the way she spoke it out. Like, basically, she's been searching to be something all this time. And now she's like, I don't need to be anything. I'm fine.
Mhm.
But ironically, her capacity opens up after that because when
Yeah.
you're not clinging, you can just open up and be like, oh, I can learn from him. I can learn from him. So everything becomes a teacher. All day you're learning. You're in a
Which
constant
is-
like
yeah.
mushroom state. You're like everything is a teacher.
it's
Everything
so
is like,
good.
whoa, whoa, wow. You know, and I wonder, wait, I don't know what your thoughts are, but I wonder if that's what it is for you and maybe for me.
It is. For
Yeah.
me, now that I'm thinking back, I'm doing some therapy. This is what you bring out.
Uh-huh,
I'm
uh-huh.
thinking back of why I was so triggered. It's probably because the amount of time and sweat and tears that I took to pass those tests.
Yeah.
Right. And then now thinking, I was like, was it all worth it? I wasted all those times, all those 4 years to get that degree, all these 2 years to get these certs. And then this guy is completely destroying everything that I've learned, right? Or this girl destroyed everything that I learned. So partly that for me, that now that I think about it, like all my hard work was for nothing.
Mhm.
Like that would be so tough. But it actually, now that I look back, I was like, it actually was for something.
Yeah. It's
Right.
another aspect.
It's just another aspect. So there's that. And then the other side is not feeling worthy enough to take care of someone. Right. So it's like, I need this certification to give me the go ahead to help someone, which sounds silly to me now that I'm thinking about it. Because if you look at, like, if you're going around, you don't see any certifications in my current space right now. But
Yeah.
dude, like the first 5 years, I had my entire wall with certifications to protect me, to let them know that I'm like, okay, this guy kind of knows stuff.
Yeah.
Right. But then it got to a point where like no one even asks.
No one cares. They're like, can you provide a result for me? Can you help me?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know what you mean. Mine feels a little different, but I might find myself like working with the client. I'm like, I gotta reach out to my master, my yogic master,
Mhm.
and learn a new technique for how people can sleep or go to astral project in their sleep, because this client has a lot of trauma in those moments. This could be really helpful. Then I'm just like, Yoni, like how much more shit do you need to know? Like
Mhm.
at some point, I'm just like, I don't even need to read another book. Like just listen to the guy, listen to the person, and go, and ask them, like, what do you think you need? What? And then, like, generally, you just talk to them, like,
Yeah.
you can figure it out. Like, I find I don't know everything, but between you
Right.
and I, when we ask good questions, we'll get clarity, we'll get the next step. And do we really need more than the next step? No, you just got to do the next step,
Yes.
So not to say there isn't value to having the big picture,
Mhm.
which I maybe pride myself into, but I think uh, sometimes it's just that curiosity of like humility and like not having that I have it all
Yeah.
and like I don't know. Well, what do you think? What can we do? Okay, well this didn't work. What does work? Okay, and that
Mhm.
and often that gives you a far more accurate. I find for myself with my clients, like I learn from the session.
Yeah.
I talk to them and then I go out there and I come up with a whole new theory based on working with a client.
And then you experiment.
Exactly, because I
Mhm.
would have stuck with my old thing I learned, and now I'm like, wow, that this is like we had a client recently with regards to a certain behavior that's very unique within the eating disorder community. They're considered like the hardest of the hardest eating disorder clients.
Yeah.
And then when we were doing it, I have a certain theory of what it is, and based
Yes.
on the theory, I treat it a certain way. And then just this past session, I'm talking to her,
Mhm.
and I realized there's like a whole nother way of seeing it. I never saw it before, and it's scary, but it's also like a deep dive into a whole new world of how to help her. And
Mhm.
that difference will have quantum leaps for her,
Mhm.
that I would have had if I just did another certification, another training.
Yeah.
And I'm like so stoked for our next session because I'm just
Yeah.
like, I know, I found that linchpin. I found that thing that
Mhm.
like she's struggling with all these little things that are random, and now it all makes sense.
Mhm.
And we're gonna pull that thing, and everything's gonna change.
Yeah.
So I'm stoked.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
you're
yeah,
benefiting her, but you're also benefiting the future clients that potentially and
yeah, and
yourself,
myself. Yeah.
right? So I think this is what makes you very special. Like I consider there's therapists, but then there's like practitioners.
Mhm.
I love practitioners. And when I mean practitioners, I means they practice on themselves. They experiment on themselves to find the truth.
Mhm.
Now that I'm playing it back, I think the certifications served me well because it gave me enough courage to just help like that first person. But that's like false confidence for me. Where I truly gained the confidence was actually me putting in the work,
Mhm.
me trying the diet, me trying the cold
Mhm.
plunges, me trying the squats with your knees out,
Mhm.
and so on and so
Mhm.
forth. So, like, after you build so much practical work on yourself, I think I was able to just like, you know what?
I have
I,
me.
I have me. Let's just
Right.
try it. I think there's so much more conviction in that. And I think that's where you get a lot of your confidence because when I speak to you, I'm like, this guy knows what I'm talking about. We were
Mhm.
talking about cold showers. And I was like, yeah, this guy takes cold showers.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want
I take hot too occasionally.
yeah.
It's like a treat. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. So I want to talk about that, the practicing side.
Okay, sure.
How
Yeah.
important is that for you when you take on a practitioner one, but also with like just you internally? He's like, okay, if I tell this person to do this, do you do it first? Like what's
Good question. I don't know what practice I can give to a client that I haven't done myself.
Mhm.
Because I don't know how can you give it to someone because you don't know how it will feel. Like it's a personal experience,
Yeah.
and you're like, let's say for me, I'm also I occasionally give like yoga classes to
Mhm.
students, and I find like I practiced the thing before, so I even know what song would evoke the proper energy that is in line with what they're gonna feel when they do this breathing practice or moving. Like which song really mirrors that expression?
Mhm.
Which song can aid in that experience? When I did a certain practice yesterday that helps people connect to their intuition and their heart. So it has your hand like this and your other hand like this.
Okay.
Right now, if your hand's like this or like this, it makes a huge difference.
Just from
This
that
is a
small
little
angle.
difference in angle. I mean, you could think of it, you have meridian lines and blood lines going through to your heart and,
Okay.
and here versus here, here versus here. These things make big differences. So
Yeah.
I would go ahead and sit and go, all right, what is it? Well, what if I did this way? Oh, totally different. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. So something is different running in my body a little differently. So
Okay.
as you breathe, slow, deep breaths, you're looking over here, and then you
Mhm.
afterwards do a couple of deep inhales and exhales. But it
Mhm.
takes you to like very kind of like I don't know how to describe it, but kind of a knowing state.
Yeah.
So, but I practice it beforehand till I go like I know what it tastes like. I
Yes.
know what this taste is, and if I wanted to give someone a practice long term, I would practice it long term so I can help them. So I can say like, I don't know what happens. Let me know.
Yeah.
You know, I want to say, okay, I tried it and this is what I see. Or I've seen enough people doing this that I see this is the path that could
Yes.
work.
I think
Yeah.
that's where the biggest, like, the problem with certifications and MBAs,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
those are my biggest things that break my heart. They tell something, but they don't practice it. And you could almost sense it, right? You sense it. It's easy to see it in a trainer. I've had trainers that are like overweight,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, how can you tell this person to eat that when you're eating anything you want?
Yeah.
Right? So like those are some things that truly break my heart. And I agree, like knowing and testing those things give you extra vocabulary that they need to keep taking the next step.
Mhm.
Right? Like just for me, it's always pain. Listen, around this time, you're probably going to be second guessing why you're even here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to tell you, it's in these moments where you find this next version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And the next version of yourself also includes all of your goals and dreams,
Mm-hmm.
right? The better dress, your ability to travel without any pain. So when we get to that point, promise me you just keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
And I can only speak that because I've been in those reps.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, and that's just on the physical standpoint, but you can also speak as like, hey, listen, like at some point,
Yeah.
you're gonna want to leave.
And totally. And I would say this is the ironic part. When
Mhm.
people are in a lot of pain, they'll do something for it.
Mhm.
But when people are in this middle stage where there's pain, but it's functional, like I'm
Mhm.
feeling sad, but I'm not that sad. I'm anxious, I'm not that anxious. I'm unwell, I'm mentally unwell, but it's not that bad. I can still go to work, I still live my life. It's fine. Like those are the hardest because they don't have a fire under their butt enough.
Mhm.
So I found a lot of times I work with clients and I'm like, okay, I see them from day one. I'm like, we could take you here
Mhm.
easily. I know how to take you from here to here. We could do it. And then over here is when they start feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
So they get there and they're like, I'm good. And I'm like, I mean, you
Yeah.
are compared to most people, you are. But I'm like, I just see how much farther you can go.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's so sad,
Mhm.
you know? But I think in most people's mind, they think this is the thermometer, the status
peak.
quo of what this is good.
Yes.
And in my mind, like that will be like a horrible life to me. But in their mind, they think that's good.
Mhm.
And, you know, so I find myself, you know, often talking about like recreating new goals. Like at a certain point, like, okay, well, you came here because you were binging, da 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 da, and like, none of those things are happening anymore.
Yeah.
It's 2-3 weeks later, you're in a different situation. So we can just keep doing the same goals, or let's be creative. Like, what do you want? Like, not what you're running away from anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of times they're like, okay, this is new, and then when they create new goals, and like the next goals are like a whole other world of stuff, and then eventually they get there, and those goals are no longer relevant. You know,
Mhm.
I find on a personal level for myself, like I had a lot of like goals of what wellness was or what my best self was, and at some point I got there, and then I remember being really confused because I was just like, what's next? Like
Mhm.
I feel like all my problems are no longer here, and I'm just like, I have things I want to work on, yes, but like, and then I had to like think of wellness in a whole new way
Yeah.
to have a goal or something that I wanted to achieve. If I, you know, and we can talk more about like
Yeah.
the science model, like kind of the biohacking and the relationship with
Yeah.
everything, which is maybe a different plane I'm on
Yeah.
now. But yeah, there's a certain aspect of like the paradigm, the box we have, like
Of
often
what's
is
good.
given, it's given by our authorities, our mom and dad, and our schools. They say, this is good, this is the box you should be in. But like everyone has a different shape.
Yeah.
So we're not going to fit in the box, and your superpower is outside of the box.
Mhm.
So I find like I had to start thinking about like, what is wellness for me? And I would think recently, I'm like, wellness for me is my mind is so sharp and so clear, and my breath is so under my control that I only need to sleep a few hours a night. You know why? Because I'm so energized. Not because I need to wake up. I'm just like 3 hours later, I'm like, let's take a nice ice bath. You know, like I want to feel so vitalized.
Right.
Now it's not because I want to do the 3 hours of sleep. Like, you know, it's not because I'm like, I want to be like a monk. The point is like that level of wellness, of where I'm so at peace. There's no thoughts draining me anymore, no belief
Yeah.
systems, and no tension. I'm just dancing in life. And then I just take a nap for a couple hours, I get back up and I
Yeah.
keep dancing. So that was like another
Sick.
step of wellness that so now when I'm like, oh no, I'm like 98% there. Now I'm like 3%.
Mhm.
And I'm like, man, I have so much work to do.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
hired you're gonna love this
Yeah.
because you talked about that. Someone was like, "Oh, I'm good," but then as a coach, you're like, "Actually, you're good, but there's so much more."
Hmm.
And I'm so sorry.
Please
That's
don't do that
okay.
ever
This
again.
is this is how you see that you see that, guys.
We're normal. We have
Yeah.
phones.
But anyways, so I'm actually in this life coach program, and someone is helping me manage my anxiety,
Hmm.
my stresses, and months later, like they'll do a triage. They're like, "All right, how are you feeling here, here, and here?" I'm at like a 6 at the start or a 3 at the start, and then months later, I'm like, "Dude, I'm at like 9s and 10s in every single
Hmm.
attribute."
Hmm.
And this lady was so effective. And she said it with a non judgmental voice and more of a curious voice. And she was like, "What if your 9 is actually just a 2?" And she said it in that tone. And I was like, "What do you mean it's a 2?" I'm just, I'm just saying, like, what if it is? What if there's another level?
Hmm.
And I think that's like an underlining practitioners and great coaches. They're willing to break they're willing to break something to make it even bigger.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I was like, what if it is only a 2? And then once I that whole, I mean, one, it hurts to believe that
Hmm.
maybe my 9 is not a 9. But then from breaking that
It's a whole
gave
new
me,
perspective.
yeah, it was when I had one facility. I was like, I think I'm at a 9. I'm good. And then I was like, what if that 9 is a 2? And then it created this entire field. It's like, I'm not at my full capacity. I can help way more people,
Hmm.
right? And then
Hmm.
I think that's like one of the biggest things. How do you get a person that's already happy? You almost have to break them, but how do you break them in a way where it's like, hey, there's so much more potential?
Hmm.
Because I know for sure when I get into a place where I'm stagnant, that's when the anxiety hits. That's when the depression
Hmm.
hits. And I want them to avoid that. How do you push them to go from they thought they
Hmm.
were at a 9?
That's a good question. And I guess for me, this is an area where I myself have maybe only recently found a balance with regards to like, what is the real goal?
Right.
Like, is the goal to keep getting to next levels,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Or is there a possibility that it's not about the levels, but about our experience in these levels?
Yes.
So this is an area where I found myself like I have this new goal. I have a new pie chart and I'm only at 2%.
Yeah.
And then at some point I'm like, there's always gonna be another time when this 9 is a 2. When your dreams and hopes and everything you have, you'll get it.
Yeah.
And then you'll have a now what moment, and then
Mm-hmm.
you'll be able to expand. So when I'm working on myself or working with others, I want to get clear, like, are they looking to continue this race of keep going to the next levels? Or are they looking to just make their life rich? Make
Yes.
sense? Like, do you want to, when I hold my cup and I smell, like you said, you smell and that, like, that's
Yeah.
a luxury that you're able to go there. Does that make sense?
It is. Yeah.
It's a quality of life that your body is able to calm down enough to notice it. Most of what your mind does is delete information. And your
Mm-hmm.
mind's able to say, no, we can keep this one around. He has enough capacity to smell the coffee. Makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
So like the question is also kind of like sometimes people want to achieve a next level and sometimes people
Yeah.
want to just be here and this is good.
Yes.
So and it doesn't mean there isn't growth. I find there actually ironically is even more exponential growth, but
Mm-hmm.
it's in a way far beyond any linear way.
Yeah.
And I'll explain it maybe. It's a relationship. It's like when we're a kid and you're thinking about like, oh, how do I like maybe you're in high school, you're like, how do I pick up chicks?
Yeah.
And you're like, I have to drive that cool car. I have to say this really nice thing or whatever, give that wink or whatever
Yeah.
that thing is, be really good at football. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then at some point, like you're in a relationship with someone and like
Yeah.
they just want you to hold their hand or laugh at them or laugh with them, or it's a relationship.
Yeah.
And then you get all of the things that you wanted. All those things are so much easier to access.
Yeah.
And whatever relationship, whatever that thing you had in mind, it's like you're in a relationship with them. You're in a relationship with that person. So suddenly there's no more tricks. There's no more biohacks.
Yeah.
You're in a relationship. You can just ask them. You can just communicate with them.
Yeah.
Like the person who made up that long, like wide leg squat, he wasn't like, let's take a math equation here
Yeah.
and pick all of them and look at, he probably was like, let me just feel. And then he
That's
like,
pretty much, yeah. He was the guy that was wearing the foot shoes. He was like, I just feels good, man.
right. And
Yeah.
what he was doing is just asking his body how it feels.
Mhm.
And I would say this is like a powerful point where it's like it's like we can like biohacking things. Like how can we get like, faster, stronger, quicker, everything, and
Mhm.
then it's a question of like I'm in a relationship here. And then I want to explore like the body's capacity. I want to see how far you can go, and I want to witness this with you,
Yeah.
So maybe this is something where I recently started doing. I started doing Gaga dance, the form of dance.
Okay.
And for me, it was always interesting, like I really feel like I actually used to break dance when I was in like high school.
Okay.
So I did a little break dancing, but
Rabbi
like,
breakdancer.
huh?
A rabbi breakdancer.
Yeah, it was
Gotcha.
before the rabbi school.
Okay.
Yeah, but I found myself, this is like an interesting time where I was like, okay, I started doing this thing called Gaga dance. It's basically like you're just moving your body in random ways and like trying to move all the body at the same time and trying to like move it in like twisting ways.
Mhm.
And when I did it, it was interesting because I moved my shoulder in a way that I never moved before.
Right.
And then I was like, whoa, like my shoulder and my shoulder blade are actually two like separate things going on. Like
Mhm.
it was suddenly like awareness of like my body, and then suddenly like just that awareness of like where's my body's flexibility and movements,
Yeah.
like, and how does that relate with day-to-day life, totally like changed my way I want to move through life,
Yeah.
how I hold something, how I talk to someone.
Mhm.
Suddenly there's a really nice feeling when I just move my shoulders.
Yeah.
So my point here is that this I started getting in a relationship with
Yeah.
the body, like
Yes.
being curious, like, what does this do for you? How does this help you? Instead of like going to the next level, it's like in a relationship, we're not like, we got to the next level. It's
Yeah.
like, I love you. I just want to
Yeah.
connect deeper.
Can
Like,
enjoy it.
I just I want to feel completely connected here. I want to feel this body is running on 6 cylinders. I want it to be like, oh, nice.
Yeah.
And then like, is there more levels of nice? Then let's keep going there because I love it so much.
Yeah.
So I would say it's more like the relationship aspect. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does.
But yeah.
If you're listening to this, to Yoni right now, and how like the small, minuscule detail can be so joyful. This is essentially why I like hanging out with you. It's just like the movement of your shoulder blades. For someone, they're like, it's just a shoulder blade. But you're like, dude, they can move. It can do these things that I've never even experienced before.
Right.
And I think you're spot on. I'll have like, I'm replaying back some of my memories as I'm like helping my clients. And I've done it in ways where it was miserable to get them to get to their 6-pack.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, we can only eat this. Like, in fact, we got to like dry you out at these times. Like the most miserable way to get a 6-pack.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is like the biggest failure for me.
Mm-hmm.
Doing it in a way where it's just painful and like it was just misery.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also do it in a way where you're just enjoying it the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually built my body both ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually in this place where like, I can't believe my body can do this. Like, I don't know if it's going to be able to do this for the rest of my life. So I enjoy those moments. And I think it's what's able me to heal faster, to sustain it for longer. And that's true. Like I think I fixate so much on the next level. But can I do it in a level where I'm smiling more, where I'm laughing more?
I think it's more for me. I view it as like one of the things in therapy. It's like a big thing. It's like they say it gets worse before it gets better. It gets painful for some like lines like that. And I find like, how is the body online with that? How is the body motivated to continue?
Yeah.
And I find like when I make it like fun and joyful for our clients, the biggest issue is even though they have the results, they don't believe it because like it was too easy. It was supposed to be hard. Like we have these stories of how it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
But what I find is when I make it joyful, it's never a fight. There's never like a relapse.
Yes.
Because it's like, wait, so I just feel good and then I feel good and I feel good and I feel good.
Yeah.
oh, I like feeling good. I'll feel good. And
Mhm.
like the body is like, yeah, let's keep doing this. And then
Yeah.
like they're like 100% in, you know? And it's not
Mhm.
like booyah in. It's just like it's like fuck yeah, you know? It's
Yeah.
more of just like woo, you
Yeah.
know? So it's more of that that like this is awesome.
Mhm.
I find
You
it's
find
like
joy through
playful.
that.
It's fun. It's silly. It's like dancing, you know? So
Yeah.
that's what I find. And I find this is an area in particular where at least in my field,
Mhm.
um, I don't even know what my field is anymore, but the psychotherapy part of
It's
the
life,
field,
bro.
yeah, exactly. The psychotherapy part of the field, it's so uncomfortable for people to hear that, to say like it's gonna be fun,
This is
like
gonna be great.
yeah, it's gonna
Yeah.
be great, it's gonna be fun, it's gonna be curious, it's gonna be like funny, it's gonna be silly,
Yeah.
and they're just like, no, I have like trauma. You don't understand how much pain I was in,
Yeah.
and then it was like you already went through the pain.
Yeah.
Like that happened. Like why do we have to
Mhm.
keep going through pain? Now, granted, there
Mhm.
are moments of pain, but like the
Mhm.
process is one of putting it all back together. It should feel good.
Right.
Um, and I think it's like, yeah, I don't know what it is. I wonder if it's because the effects that approaches people have used sometimes maybe aren't effective, and the way they
Mhm.
rationalize and say like it's not working, but they want to say it is. They go, it's
Mhm.
this is part of the process,
Yeah.
you know?
Remember we were talking about tapas. Like you were
Yeah,
telling me
yeah.
about these yogis that would never sit down for 5 years,
Hmm.
or they would just raise their hand up for years and they
Yeah,
would never drop it.
yeah.
And you were explaining to me like at some point they're in this like eternal bliss and joy
Hmm.
and happiness.
Hmm. Yeah,
Explain that to me, because it's
yeah.
I think I've been in those states
Totally. Yeah,
in my
for sure.
workouts, and
Yeah.
everyone's like, "Why are you liking that so much?
And
Why
you're
do
like
you keep doing
smiling.
it?"
You're smiling and you're like, this guy should be crying.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So I think a big part of our difficulties in life are our
Mhm.
relationship and
Mhm.
stories we tell around it.
Mhm.
There's something I find interesting. I practice Kundalini yoga, which is basically a lot of it is like moving your body in rhythmic ways. There's no weights. You're just kind of picking your hands up and down, left and
Yeah.
right, legs up and down. Okay, you're
Yeah.
doing a squat, you're doing a leg lift. Like it doesn't sound so hard. And
Yeah.
you're inhaling and exhaling.
Mhm.
What's wrong? And I find it's like people view it as such an intense process. And I find the stories we make up or the stories or the energy that it triggers
Yeah.
bothers people. It makes it hard for people. They
Yeah.
have beliefs around how this is hard or easy. But at some point, if you just recognize you're not your body, you inhabit this body, then it
Mhm.
suddenly becomes a different relationship of who's really the driving force here. Is the body really in charge?
The
Like, can you
mind.
be in pain and go, I'm going to sit here? Like you
Mhm.
said, that you go in the cold shower and you go, where exactly is the pain? And then you
Just
find there's no exact place of pain. It's more of an emotional pain.
just yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. But other than that, since
Yeah.
that thought or belief, it's just a sensation.
And
It's
then I
just
actually
a
get warm,
yeah, exactly.
which is
Right.
fascinating to me.
Yeah.
So we were talking about that
Yeah.
just to give the audience an idea. There was moments where I dreaded the cold showers and the cold
Hmm.
plunges. But the moment I was like, I'm just going to feel where the pain is
Yeah.
and I'm just going to be in there. And then ironically, I started to get warm.
Hmm.
And you were telling me, I was like, I think you're onto something. I think people experience pain, but you can choose to experience suffering.
Hmm. Hmm. Totally. Yeah. And I think there's an interesting line I read. I forgot. Maybe it's Patanjali, one of the ancient yogic.
Masters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things he talks about is like the three myths in life that our mind tells us is that there's hot and cold, there's
Mm-hmm.
pain and pleasure, and there's life and death.
Oh,
And at first I
wow.
was just like,
Okay.
okay, pain and pleasure I can get, all right, hot and cold, okay, and like life and death, I'm like, what? But now I'm realizing more and more like we're never really alive and dead, right? It's just we're molecular structure, and those are
Mm-hmm.
always just vibing.
Yeah.
And then we have a perception of being alive or dead, but the molecular structure just continues going on
Mm-hmm.
consistently through all matter throughout the entire universe simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
And better yet, it's beyond quantum time and space. So there's no
Yes.
time and space in that size level. So it's like, well, it makes sense when you think about it. But I think the pain and pleasure part and the hot and cold, these type of things, I know for myself, it's similar. I haven't done like extreme tapas, but the few minor tapas I've done,
Yeah.
maybe small amounts of time, there's also a point where it's really painful. And the moment of like, I'm not gonna stop. I don't
Yeah.
care if I die. Like I
Yeah.
will not stop this. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, and I'm shaking. I'm dying. I'm just
Yeah.
feeling this. It's like a death. It really does feel
Yeah.
like a death. You're just because your body is like, how much pain do I need to put you in before you like listen to me? And then they're like, I'm like, there's no pain. There's nothing you can do to change my decision here. And then at that moment, your mind like gets in line. It goes,
Yeah.
well, it's not gonna give pain. Like, and I don't know what it is. It's just like maybe let's try pleasure. I don't know what it is, or maybe it's the joy of realizing that you're not enslaved to your body. Your body is actually your servant. It's there to listen to you. You know, then you start respecting it. Then you start loving it. You start taking care of it well because you realize it's just there to serve you. Everything you want to do, it listens. Even if you want to hurt it, it'll listen to you. You know, so for me, I think it's that relationship part when you go, we're not our body. We get to experience this body. So now if I know this will not break, I make the assessment, this is not bad for my body, even if it has extreme pain, and I commit to that, like really commit with like, I don't know how to like warrior level commitment.
You're not like affirmation
There is
lying to yourself.
I will stay there. I don't care if I don't care if I shiver or die, like I will do this.
Yeah.
And then your mind goes to a different state. It's like, well, so be it. Okay. So then I'll lean into the pain. I'll explore the pain because it's not going anywhere and I'm not moving.
Yeah.
You know? So it's that like subtle relationship I found between like when is it over versus I don't care if this goes on for eternity.
And then that's when
And then when it switches, your mind goes, oh, okay, so that it's like you have to set a hard boundary with like let's say your cat and your body. Like at a certain point it's like, no, this won't happen, or yes, this will happen. And your cat goes, okay, no more jumping on the countertops. Like I understand now that you will not take that you will not be okay with that. You know, and another guy is like, well, he can go on sometimes, he's so cute. You know, and then that guy jumps in your countertops. Yes. You know, so I'm trying to say it's like the body is the same way. And it's like, what are the parameters you give to it? You know? So I think that the tapas are something where, and I think you're experiencing the same thing when you're realizing your body is a vehicle. Your body is a machine. Your body is your servant. Yeah. And it can follow suit. And there's a certain point where your mind goes, wait, you want to take control? I'm in charge. So you have this little fight with your mind.
It is, yeah.
And then at some point when your mind realizes this guy, you can't screw with this guy. Like, no, he will not stop. And you obviously have to make that judgment call, like it's good for you. But at that point, you're just really, your mind says, okay, so be it. And then
everything is easy. Everything is blessed. Everything is joy.
In life.
It's fascinating. So I do this thing, and you can kind of just triage me real quick because just to understand what I'm doing it for. But every 90 days, I do something so physically hard. And one of my rules is 50%. I might not be able to finish it. And then the other one is the only people that are going to know about it is either my coaches or my wife, just in case I die. Right. So once every 90 days, I'll do something that I don't think I can accomplish. An example, this kind of would break this rule now that I'm telling you and telling people, is I ran from here to my other location with a vest.
How far is your other location?
It's about 24 miles.
Did you train before or anything? Or?
Well, I mean, I do. I train, but
meaning you train for that run, for that.
Not at that capacity.
Yeah.
That's a marathon, right? So
with the vest.
But with the vest, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. You know, that was one of the elements. And I did that, you know, and then I'll do 12-hour workouts where I'm like, I'm just going to do this exact same workout for 12 hours. Or I'm going to do this workout on my hands. Like I did a walk or a handstand walk for a mile for one of the workouts, 2 miles. And it would just be, I would just periodically do this because at the end of it, like I can't explain. It's like the best feeling, not even after, it's during. It's during where I have a conversation with myself that, why are you even doing this? One, like that pops up. And then it's like, why not do it? And then it's like, dude, do you get to, no one gets to experience this level of pain that you're experiencing. And then that part,
and like, what are you even getting at it? Why are you doing this? And all those thoughts come up like, seriously? Like,
So I do these extreme things in my body because it's like my way of accessing this like level of joy that I feel like you have a lot. Right. And it trickles. I feel like it lasts. That joy lasts for months for me, not just physically, but just in my daily emotional life. When I'm anxious, when I'm stressed, when I'm overwhelmed, I'm just like, cool. This is sweet.
Yeah. And I wonder if it's similar to what I'm saying about that. Like, it's suddenly for a moment when you realize like you're not enslaved by this body. It's actually a gift,
Mhm,
and you get to choose how to act with it. It's
mhm.
suddenly like there's no more envelope. There's no more pushing an envelope. It's just infinity, and it's
Yes,
just like there's no rules.
it's
Suddenly you
limitless,
get
yeah.
it's limitless. This body and the mind are limitless, and you get to go choose where to put that marker. You
Yeah.
know, I'm curious for you. At some point, there's a point when you say, "Okay, I can't do that," or "I can." How do you decide that? Or is it does the body physically fail? Like what?
There's moments where it has, like, when I was doing that walk or the run, I'd have to walk. I actually, the hardest part was turning. So,
Physically turning.
physically turning, I would have these, like, massive cramps. So, like, my radius of turning was so small. It was so new to me. I was like, "How come it just stops?" But,
Right.
I found joy just one step. I was like, "I did one step. Like, if I just did this a few more times, I'll get there."
Right.
You know? Um, yeah, dude, it's interesting. I play it back and I'm like, it's it it's emotional for me
Totally. Yeah.
because it's like I can't believe I'm doing this for no particular reason,
Yeah.
right? There's no particular reason. I didn't shoot a camera for this.
Yeah.
This
No one's gonna know
literally,
about it.
except my coaches.
Yeah.
This was literally for me. And you know what was the beautiful part of it? My coaches were checking on me,
Mm.
right? Like one of them was like, "Hey, dude, I'm like, which mile are you, just in case you pass out?" So there's parts of it where I'm like, "Dang, dude, these guys
That's probably uplifting.
very
Yeah.
uplifting." It's like, "Do you want me to like grab you some electrolytes?" Like just those little moments where people are thinking about you,
Hmm.
but you're not really telling anybody else
Yeah.
is
It's something
very
interesting.
freeing.
And typically in the yogic world, a lot of stuff are in secret. Like people don't really talk to other yogis about their level, what they're on, or they're
Yeah.
doing, even their mantra or their yoga posture they do.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I was like, all right, like so culty. At a certain point I realized like it's like such an intimate relationship with yourself.
It's
And it's
deep.
like
Yeah.
super deep, yeah.
It's the opposite of what we see. Because remember,
Complete opposite.
we were talking about
Yeah.
identity. We build our identity by everyone
And this is and
projecting.
this is the breaking of identity and then the coming of
Mm.
self.
I think
It's the
that's why it's
complete opposite.
emotional to me.
It's like you're coming home to you. It's like your
Yeah.
true essence is coming out.
Yeah. No
Yeah.
one will see it. This is just for
Yeah.
me,
And maybe that's what the joy is. Maybe
dude.
that joy is like you're finally seeing yourself.
Yeah.
There's a moment when you
You're gonna
went
you're gonna
past.
invoice me, bro? But yeah, I really do think that now.
Yeah. It's like the joy of that witness thing of like, so
That's
that's who
me.
I am. Like I thought I run 2 miles with
Oh
weighted
man.
vest, 10 miles, and suddenly you're like, that's not even me. That was a story I made up. And then I get to see this whole new me. It's
Hmm.
almost like the curtains are lifted and you're like, this is you. And you're like,
Yeah.
wow, that's amazing. And you're witnessing him move. You're witnessing him, show up with power. And it's like, wow. You're like, my old self
Yeah.
would never be able to do that.
Not even close. He
Yeah.
would be complaining the whole time.
Meaning the one a second ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
This is why I think for the audience, it's so important to speak with other practitioners because they bring epiphanies even though you're not even looking for it. This is the
Yeah.
first time that I probably noticed that.
Mhm.
Why did I feel good about doing these things? It's not because of the pain. It's probably the deepest level of me communicating to myself
Mhm.
and thinking that I'm like worthy enough
Mhm.
and loving myself.
Mhm.
And I'm like playing it back. All those moments, every hard workout that I could consider almost nearly impossible for me was just a date with myself, which is just like sad for me. Those
Really?
are the only times. 4 times out of the year I date myself.
Ah. Well, I guess my question is can this be like for me, I try to think of my life as a date. Like
Yeah,
you're a
yeah.
part of me, dating me. I'm just
Mhm.
like we're all expressions of ourselves and each other. So um I wonder like why can't like that taste of you is still here.
It
Like you
is,
can
yeah.
talk about it.
Yeah.
And that part of you can bring here. Like if I say, okay, for whatever reason you had to do it right now again. Like you can call it forth.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So why can't it be here right now?
Mhm.
I wonder. I don't know. I wonder, like, does it have to be like we do things occasionally? Like for me, I do something similar. I do 3 days a month by myself, and I
Mhm.
meditate for 3 days. And there's some point, like probably some point, like day one, I'm like, no one's around.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah.
And like day one, it's quiet, nothing's happening. Day two, I'm just like sitting there. I'm like, Yoni, what are you doing? I'm just
Yeah.
like sitting in a room, like, oh, but I'm meditating.
Yeah.
And there's some point though, I'm wondering, like, when we come back to those moments, we're able to receive, like, oh yeah, that experience, and can we take that experience into every moment?
Yeah.
Because really, even knowing of yourself,
That's where my challenge is. I'm
well,
just noticing that. Can I
yeah.
bring that person with me?
Well, I think when we say bring the person, it's not a memory, because what really is a memory, right?
Yeah.
It's emotion.
Uh-huh.
An emotion is what? A
There
sensation.
you go. Bring that emotion with
Yeah.
me. Then. Yeah.
And the emotion is not. It's like, I think one of the things I find funny about Tony Robbins is like, he talks a lot about your state,
Yeah.
and it's like so silly because like a state is a sensation. Sensation in the body is something. If I asked you right now to think about you're in a cage and there's a shark, and there's an opening in the cage and there's a piece of cow meat in there, and there's a shark coming towards the cage. Like, how would you feel? Like, we're all like, whoa, yeah.
You're swimming.
Yeah, like you're freaking out. So I see, the first kiss you had with your partner. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a moment, like, oh yeah. So that's the thing. It's like we can just automatically feel a certain way.
Right.
So there's sensations that we can feel, and if we're sensitive enough to our emotions, we can always go back to a certain state and feel a certain way.
How do I train that? Because the
Sure.
emotion that I was talking about is joy, like pure joy,
So these are things that we call joy.
or love too.
Right.
I would always say love.
So there's this is my belief. I believe there's states of being that are universal, and like love and joy are probably those states.
Yeah.
Included in those states are love, joy, pain, pleasure, horror, terror, laughter, like all these, anxiety. All those things are included in that universal expression of joy and love. Maybe it's more philosophical, but it's an expression of self. Whatever. I don't know how to describe it better in a sentence. But on an individual level, like when you feel like that joy, I would say it's a word you're trying to use to express an experience, right? So what did it feel like to be in a state of joy?
Light.
Light. Where did you feel that light feeling?
My heart.
Yeah. Where? In your heart. You point with a finger. Right here. How big was that?
Oh man.
Small. You draw it with your finger. A shape.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was there a color?
Red.
Red. Was it moving at all? Was it staying?
It's pulsing.
It's pulsing.
Yeah.
Pulsing like the heart or in its own pulse.
Yeah.
Own pulse?
It's its own pulse.
Own pulse, yeah. And can you kind of experience that pulse right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. And is it hot or cold?
I can't recall.
Here's what don't recall. How does it feel right now?
Warm.
Warm, yeah.
But there's no sound.
Was there sound?
No.
Yeah. So
like everything kind of just blanks out. It's just the heart.
Yeah. So this is a short example, right? So there's ways to like open ways to open your Pandora box, open your mind to higher levels. So like deep meditators, like serial meditators, they show their like I think their fear centers in the brain like shrink, so they don't feel fear anymore. But their insula, they're part of the brain that is more is responsible for what they feel on the inside of their body is highly activated. Wow. So it means their ability to feel on the inside is highly activated. Make sense? So there's deeper levels of that. But when you say joy, there's a sensation that's very, very descriptive for you. I'd never heard of that experience. Makes sense? For me, joy is a completely different experience. Now, maybe we both call them joy. Maybe we call it love. But they're just words we use to describe a sensation. Does that make sense?
It is, yeah.
So now that can change, that can grow, that can be tweaked, and it can evolve. But the point here is that feeling is always there. Make sense? Yeah. And if you like close your eyes and really let yourself like, it's not like calling it in, but it's falling into it. There's a certain level of like,
you're in. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's always there. And it's almost like, I don't describe it past, it's a remembrance. There's an interesting word I find. It's in many different traditions, but like the word for meditation in Sufi tradition, which is like the spiritual aspect of Muslim tradition, is zikr, which means, or in Hebrew that word is zocher, which means remember.
Remember.
And meditation is just remembering. That's
Okay.
what it's called, remembering.
Remembering what?
So when you go to these altered states, and there's moments you're like, it's me.
Remembering the
So you're remembering, that's
pattern,
me. You
the
like, it's
one.
almost like when you do those steps, there's a part of
Yeah,
it that goes,
yeah.
that is me. And it's like a birthright. It was like, I could always do that. Does that make sense? It's almost like that old me was not me. This is me. It's almost like a remembrance of who you really were. It's like a coming home. I don't know how to describe
Yeah.
it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I feel like that is the real secret of, can we keep remembering?
Can we keep feeling like
Can
it's
we-
home?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what it felt like. It felt like it was
Yeah.
home.
Yeah. And then it's about, how do I come home? So I wonder, there's something to think about, even in working out.
Yeah.
You can pick up the same weight.
Yeah.
Can you pick it up from your essence of your being? Makes sense. Like I think about sometimes, I'm just gonna drink a cup of water, drink coffee, or whatever this is. So I can just go like, yeah, or
Yeah.
I could just pick this up, and as I put my hand around, I feel every bone in the body. I feel my muscles contract and pull. I'm alive. I see where the cup ends,
Mhm.
where the outside of the cup begins, and there's a space between the cup and not cup, which is like a blurred line, which maybe you can argue is an aura. But there's right here, I'm seeing this cup
Yeah.
in full shape, and I'm seeing the ridges of the line of the cardboard and the semi of the plastic sheen of the
Yeah.
light, and I'm seeing it, and I haven't even tasted it. I smell it. Now it's like it's a whole experience, and I taste it
Yeah.
on my tongue.
Yeah.
And I taste my brain. I feel my brain light up. And it's like, it's the wholesome experience. And I wonder, like, when you pick up those weights, you can
my
like,
gosh.
you can
Okay.
pick it up and just be like, yep, doing my reps. Or it's like, everyone's like, full me, full me,
Yeah.
full me. Like, I'm just wondering if that's like, in a meditation and yoga, that's like a difference between like an advanced yogi and like a beginner. Is the beginner is like doing the movements, going with the flow, and a full like advanced yogi does the same movement and it's like transcendental. Because
Yeah.
it's like full body experience. Like for me, I'm doing like the same movement for the past couple of years, the same movement every morning.
Mhm.
And it's like sometimes the same movement takes me to transcendental states. The same movement.
Yeah.
Because I'm like feeling the wind, the breeze. As my foot comes up, I feel the wind hitting it. And I feel it
Yeah.
going down every inch. And I feel my toes feeling it, and the
Yeah.
pressure and the pulling of the muscle fibers as they go up and down, like every level. So I'm wondering if it's like that level of wholesomeness in the movements.
Mhm.
I wonder about results. I wonder if that'll even bring more results.
It probably will.
Yeah.
I think pain numbs out everything that I think about. One. So that was like, that's now that I'm thinking about it. So now I'm not thinking about my stresses, the people I
Mhm.
got to take care of,
Okay.
because my body's such in pain. I can't even think about that.
Mhm.
And then the second part is I actually get more into the moment. You're like, what areas of my body are really struggling that I need to change and help.
Mhm.
So I get into those moments, and then like I'm slowly getting into what you're experiencing is like the presentness. Your muscle for getting into the present is unreal.
Mhm.
Like I have good arms, right?
Mhm.
But you have good present arms where you can get into this presentness level
Mhm.
almost instantaneously.
That reminds me, I think there's some research on like stretching and
Mhm.
posture. So when people like stretch, their body will always go back to the tight state.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest difference is whether they can remember what it feels like to be stretched. Like when they stretch and they go, oh, it feels good, then their body like stays in that posture.
Yeah.
And then it comes their baseline. And I wonder, like, for meditation, this is for sure the case. If you're at a really peaceful state and you know what you feel like, you'll stay there longer because neurons that fire together, they're wired together.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if it's like the presence of it like creates that permanence.
Okay.
It creates that more of that. Like, and I'm sure you've heard like the research of even people who can't move their body, if they're like paralyzed, but they think of moving, they get like 60% of the results, some crazy number.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, like, if you pick up the same 5 pounds, but with like 1,000% focus, like I wonder if you would actually gain more muscle or more energy or more whatever you want to get out of it.
Yeah.
I
was
this is cool. I've never really thought of it this way, but
I was making a joke with one of my coaches because he's running something called 75 hard, which is one of the workouts you have to do outside. And I told him, I was like, hey, does it count if I visualize working out outside for 45 minutes, just asking for a friend?
yeah.
And then I thought about it, and then I was talking to my wife about it. I was like, I really think it would be much harder visualizing for 45 minutes than actually doing it,
Yeah.
which is another a problem that I have, sitting still and trying to visualize instead of just doing it. Right. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Well, think about this. The pain model.
mhm,
Why does it work? Because there's some part of you that's finding resistance or difficulty, and pain is a short-term solution.
yeah,
Anyone jumps when there's pain,
yes,
So the question is what are the things that get in the way that
mhm,
prevent us from, like, when you're feeling joy or like pleasure, it's like it's infinity. It's infinity. It's just like yes, 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 yes. Like,
yeah,
and then with pain, we have to keep like kind of twisting their arm,
right,
But it's like, why does it need to be twisted so much?
hmm,
And I don't know if it's like everyone's different, but I think a big part is beliefs, stories, and how we need pain to motivate. It's like,
to make progress.
yeah. I think like something I see often with entrepreneurs is like they have to like have like 7 cups of coffee before they start their day, and I'm like, how shitty is your work
Yeah,
that you need 7 cups just to get up in the morning?
yeah,
Like, does it not excite you?
yeah,
And I find often it's that like they're such a failure if they don't do it. There's all these problems and fears and thoughts. The way it's like so much friction going the other way and so much fear that they need 7 cups of coffee just to go forward.
yeah,
But if there was a way that they can have all those fears addressed and all those stories, seen and witnessed and all those parts of themselves healed, then
mhm,
they open up to it. They don't need
yes,
that. They don't need that anymore. It's no longer like, I find like discipline is only needed when you're fighting yourself.
yes, yeah,
Like, I don't feel like I have any discipline at all. Yeah, I
that's
wake up
great.
every morning, sometime like between 3 and 5:30, something like that. And I don't feel like I'm waking up 5:30. I'm just like, another
Yeah,
day. Can I just feel this carpet, the shower? Can I just notice it a little deeper? This morning I was in the shower actually,
yeah,
and I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't really kind of leaned into that more. And I'm like, let me really find out where exactly it's cold or where the pain. I was like doing it a little more today, and
mhm,
I searched my body and I couldn't find it, you
yeah,
know. And like it happened too, my body gets hot,
yeah,
It's like, oh, I'm not cold.
mhm,
But I think it's these stories that
mhm.
create that friction, and we need the pain to motivate ourselves.
I think I might be in that
Yeah.
frame and identity. Just the books that I read,
Hmm.
you have to have pain to make this progress. And then I actually recently talked
Even though
to,
your 90-day thing, when you're like
yeah,
doing something that's far beyond pain, it's so
yeah,
much worse than pain. It's pleasure.
yeah,
So you yourself see the pleasure gives you far better outcomes.
yeah, which is fascinating to
Yeah.
me because I spoke to a guy. I was like, how, like, he essentially built his business being lazy,
Hmm.
and I'm so wired for hard work. Let's make something hard even harder,
Right.
right? And I think the laziness side and the simplicity side, one, just it's not that attractive. So marketing wise, people don't write books about it. But I think there's far more lazy entrepreneurs that's made millions of dollars than we realize.
Yeah.
They're just not captivating.
They
They're
don't
like,
care.
I just do
They're lazy.
this,
They're just
I just
like,
do this, and I make money.
right.
But they don't make books about them.
Right.
There's no podcast about them. They're not documentaries about them because they're not just exciting to us. I think we're like
Right.
we're wired to see that. At least for me, I'm like, okay, there has to be some type of pain in this ingredient for it to work.
Yeah.
But what if, like, now I'm questioning my
Hmm.
beliefs. What if not all of it has to have pain?
Hmm. Or what if it's depending on your development?
Right.
Meaning, when I look at religion, I see this the same way. It's like, even though it was so many religions, so much like hell and heaven, and so much good bits and bad, and like random dogma, things are just like, this guy says you go to hell if you have a garlic, other guy says you go to hell if you have a pork, and like, wow, very specific about these specific foods that take you to hell,
Mhm.
And I think, you know what? I think for whatever reason, they had certain rules or structures or systems that they felt were helpful. And just like when we tell your kid, like, Santa Claus is going to put you on the naughty list, like, these
Yeah.
leaders needed to help their people get behind it. So they said
Mhm.
hell and heaven are things to help keep them moving,
Yeah.
At some point, like, it doesn't serve you anymore. And it's
Mhm.
like an old belief. It's like walking around with rain, rain boots, like rubber boots, or
Yeah.
and you're inside, and it's like they work great in the rain, but now you're indoors. Like, you don't need them anymore.
Right.
And it's like I wonder if like these beliefs like hard work and discipline are really important for the right person at the right time.
Right.
And at some point, like where
You take the guardrails
you
out.
plateau. Yeah, you're at a point where things are good now. So now it's a
Ugh,
question of you look around and you go, oh, what do I need? Like the lazy
yeah.
guy, he's doing something.
You're doing better than me.
Right. And what's he doing?
Yeah.
He's very slowly just looking around and going, what is the one thing I need to do?
Yeah.
And he goes, that one thing. All right, we'll do that one thing.
Yeah.
And and you're like climbing the mountain. He's like, I'm gonna order an Uber.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I wonder if it's just that it's like a certain point. It's not about. It's like the seed had to try so hard to sprout,
Yeah.
right? And at some point, it hits the soil, and now it doesn't need to keep breaking open. It needs to just
Just
expand.
needs to open.
Yeah, it needs to let the sun just do its work or the oxygen, whatever it is.
That just blew my mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's not like good or bad or a bad belief. It's just a question of at the right time.
Like, what phase are you in?
Yeah.
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 Because it's going to require a lot more energy to burst out of that seed.
Yeah, yeah, and you
Right.
might need that do or die energy and fight
Yeah.
for your life. Like, I don't. I think that serves a purpose. And you look at most animals, if they took the lazy approach, they'd be dead.
Mhm.
Meaning like if there's like, I see the lions chasing me, but I mean, what are the chances?
Yeah.
What are the chances? There's so many other gazelle running around. He's gonna get me.
Yeah.
Like that guy gets eaten.
Right.
So there's a certain level of developmental on a cellular level. The cells have to evolve to have that hustle mode, and at some point you'll find like. Yeah, let's say in the yogic tradition, like all of the yogis at some point talk about being so relaxed,
Yeah.
so sleepy,
Yeah.
so chill that everything just takes a nap.
Yeah.
And then you wake up and you remember it all. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here sweating away doing a tapa or something. And they're just like,
Yeah.
you're so relaxed, your heart takes a nap.
Mhm.
I'm just
It's
like,
so
"What?"
crazy. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I can't understand you.
Right, right. So I wonder if it's just a stage and
Yeah.
assessing what stage are you on. I remember talking to someone about this actually a couple months ago where they were looking at me like they were like heretic. You're telling me I should just be relaxed. I need to work hard. And I'm just like, well, I'm talking to you. You're sitting here at a cafe doing your work. You work at a cafe. And I'm like, what do you do? He's like, yeah, I just type on a computer. I'm like, so you're basically sitting it was like at the front of a beach. I'm like, you're in front of a beach, there's groovy music, you just ordered a drink. And I'm like, are you really working hard now? Or are you
Yeah.
stuck on the hard working model? But you're actually having a very chill time. This is
Mhm.
all basically as close as you can get to vacation.
Right.
And she's like, yeah, I guess when you put it that way, but like, no, it has to be hard work. And she had a belief,
Yeah.
like it had to be hard.
I think that's the state I'm in. I'm
Mm.
trying to break this hardwired belief in me for 36 plus years that I need to somehow look at it slightly different
Mhm.
because it's brought me joy for a certain
Yeah.
amount and it's brought me growth at a certain amount. And
Yeah.
now I'm questioning. I was like, is this the only way? How do I break to the next path?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And I'm not discounting the hard work that I've done, but I think at some point, dude, like I need to evolve in some way.
Yeah.
It just needs to be efficient, but it's hard in its own way
It
because
could be even
it's
harder
different.
in a way.
Yeah.
Think about how much our worth is tied to how hard we work,
Hmm.
how much we hustle. I know for me, there was a 1 year where I decided I committed
Yeah.
that I'm not gonna look for any clients. In fact,
Yeah.
someone can come to me and say, "Dude, I struggle with panic attacks all day," and I'd be
Yeah.
like, "Man, have you tried psychology today?"
Yeah.
Like I won't even say anything about what I do.
Yeah.
Nothing. And I tried it for a year,
Mhm.
and it was so hard to be lazy. It was so hard.
Yeah.
And I always remember like seeing a lot of my like coworkers and colleagues like really hustling, and they got more clients than I did,
Yeah.
But I looked at the grand scheme of things. 1 year being completely lazy for me was a difference of $10,000, an entire year of being lazy.
Yeah.
And I was just like, $10,000. People would pay $50,000
Yeah.
to be lazy.
Yeah.
So, but I found it was actually one of the hardest years for me. It was so hard.
Yeah.
It was so hard. And I also that year I didn't do the whole year, but for much of that year, I tried to do one thing at a moment. So I'm talking to someone, I wouldn't fold laundry, I wouldn't clean up my room or make food at the same time. I'm talking to someone, I'll just talk to someone. I'm
Yeah.
cooking food, I'm just cooking food, stirring that,
Yeah.
spinach. Like it was so painful to just do
Just
one
to be
thing.
still. Yeah.
Yeah, and just kind of, but the interesting part was, I think my growth became more exponential because I would only do the things that actually mattered. Well,
Mhm.
here's a day. There's 24 hours. You're gonna do about 7 things today.
Yeah.
So I had to like really decide what things am I gonna do today. Instead of like packing it in, it would have to
Yeah.
be one thing at a time. And yeah, okay, I guess I'll update my profile today. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I guess I'll just do some research on how to help this person, or what do I really need to do? I'm like, honestly, not really anything today.
Mhm.
So I found it was really hard because part of me had this belief that I needed to work hard,
Yeah.
um, and I needed to be like I mattered. I think that was
Yeah.
for me a big part. It was I had to
You're
matter,
like,
and
yeah.
I saw my colleagues like hustling, and I'm like, Yoni, what do you want now financially? What do you really
Yeah.
want that you wouldn't have if you didn't pick up this extra 5 clients? Like, what do you really
Mhm.
want? And I thought, I'm like, do I? And I'm like, I thought there's really nothing I want now. There's
Yeah.
nothing that money can buy that I want
Yeah.
at this moment.
Yeah.
You know? And then I thought, I mean, like happiness, joy, these things, like, well, that's not money oriented. At a
Yeah.
certain point, you have your food.
Yeah.
It's not really gonna make you happy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it came a certain point where I was like, there's actually nothing that this will get me anymore.
Mhm.
So then it became a question of impact, sharing knowledge, wisdom, joy. It's fun.
Yeah. Sharing your
Yeah,
energy. Yeah.
yeah, something like that. So then I had to redefine work in a way
Mhm.
that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Like now I think like I'm running a retreat with a friend of mine. And
Yeah.
it's for men who are like looking for more clarity in the next stage, and they kind of like they have blocks coming up, or they do something they can't follow through. So, and then the reason why I'm doing it is because my friend's just a cool guy. We're good friends. It's gonna be fun, and
Yeah.
like I believe that's probably gonna actually draw people in because we're having fun, and people are like, "This is cool," and I think it'll actually help. But the funny part is like I don't have a real like booyah energy. It's very like, eh. And he's stressing out about it, and I'm just
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, like whatever. Worst case scenario, it'll just be me and him. Like,
Yeah.
all right, we lost some money or whatever. Like, I think about how much money do we actually lose? That's $3,000. Okay, it's
Mhm.
$3,000 of worthwhile investments.
Yeah.
Okay,
But you're more present.
I'm present, and I learn from the experience, and I would pay $3,000 for someone to teach me what I'm gonna
Mhm.
learn from all the mistakes I made over the past couple weeks, anyways.
Mhm.
So
It's
yeah,
interesting because now I feel like you're practicing again, but experimenting entirely different way. You're like, how can
yeah,
I be less anxious? Because I'm not gonna be this person. They're coming in. A lot of your clients are panicking. They're
hmm,
anxious a little bit, and you're
yeah.
like, and you exude this energy like he doesn't even care.
And that's the part where I'm realizing is for me a next stage of
Yeah.
like, how do we change people or impact people without saying anything?
Hmm.
You know? So like,
How do you heal without even
yeah,
doing
because
a
think about like
single
when I
thing?
walked in, you're like, you feel so peace, and you were like pissed off, and you're not anymore. I
Hmm.
didn't plan that. I didn't know you were feeling pissed off.
Yeah, yeah,
I was just being, right?
yeah.
And then I'm wondering, like, what if the next level is really being, like, really
Yeah.
being to the point of where your impact is beyond words,
Yes.
because it's not about impacting others anymore. It's like all that focus is going inward, like all that power is going inwards. Like, man, will you evolve? Um, yeah, it's just I'm wondering. Yeah.
Dude, I think you're spot on. I think we focus, at least for me, I focus on year to year growth, and I don't account for the expense of not being present and not building conversations and not building relationships and not spending time with me,
Mhm.
right? I would be okay making the same amount of revenue, but getting 50% more effort to being present. I think
Right.
that's successful. I think what makes it challenging is you can't really quantify it. And we're so fixated on the numbers, like, for instance, the numbers on the scale, the revenue that you see, the
Yeah.
number of clients you have.
Right.
But then you can't account for seeing the lines on a coffee mug,
Right.
right? Or seeing someone's eyes
Yeah.
turn when they feel something,
Yeah.
or you can't account for you walking into a facility and healing it just with your sense of presence.
Right. Right.
That's what makes it challenging. And I love that I brought you in here just to kind of
Mhm.
show that you can have success without seeing the numbers grow.
Right.
And that's where I'm in this space where we probably have more revenue now, least amount of clients.
I have a all-time low at the moment.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, but
I have the
it's
same,
the
yeah.
same clients who are like, I want to see you multiple times a week, or I want more of a comprehensive program or something. And
Mhm,
I actually like that more because instead of working shallowly with 10 people, I get to work more in depth
mhm.
with a few people. So I get to like, I'm seeing the person a couple times a week. I'm really, really, I'm spending, like you said before, I'm spending time in the shower thinking of them like, huh, like, oh yeah. And then I get to really like create whole new approaches, very individualized for them, where
Mhm.
both me and them are walking out like, wow, that
It's
was a Picasso
energizing.
experience, really cool. And no one knew where that was going to go,
Yeah.
and, but I came in and showed up really. Um, yeah, I really feel like, the whole American model, like a hardworking model, like I think it makes sense when you're like working at a farm.
Mhm,
I think it makes sense maybe when you're first starting your business. Like,
mhm,
there's certain, like, baby sprouting stages,
mhm.
but at some point, like, we have to kinda go to the mast and just look around and go like, "Alright, glacier,
Yeah,
seagulls there."
yeah,
Like, and that guy's just chilling. Like, he's just like, "Oh, you go there."
yeah.
And I wonder if it's just like, we have no vision if we're slaving away. Now, we
Mhm.
might need to slave away in the beginning, but at some point.
Yeah, or some seasons maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that, yeah.
I see some of my mentors now, they're you would never expect that they have the type of wealth that they have,
Mm,
but they're so relaxed.
right.
And like, "What am I doing wrong?"
Right, and you meet them and you don't even
Yeah,
you don't view them as
like
like the wealthy person. Like I know,
mhm.
I have some siblings of mine who are like rub a lot of shoulders with like multi-billionaires in that
Yeah.
range. And she's like, Yoni, they all wear Walmart clothing.
Dude, I know,
She's like,
that means they don't
none of them
care.
wear brand name stuff. She's
Yeah,
like, brand name stuff is for middle class.
yeah,
It's for middle class who thinks they're like high class. But the people who are really wealthy, just wearing like, I don't know, just it
yeah,
works. It's
yeah.
like,
It is what it is, yeah.
yeah.
I'm in that space of doing that, just, like, dissolving identity. I even
Mhm.
told my wife, I was like, "Dude, I'm done with luxury cars. Why do I
Right.
even need it anymore?" Like,
Yeah.
I don't it brings me joy just for a little bit, and then that's it.
Yeah.
What do I need that truly makes me joyful? And then that's what I'm gonna try to get.
Yeah. It's interesting. It
Yeah.
reminds me. I remember I think I was in my religious school, and there was 2 donors who would come to the
Yeah.
school often. One of them, like, really drove a nice sports car, and one
Mhm.
of them drove, like, a banged up, like, Camry. It was, like, probably 20 years old, like, really banged up.
Yeah.
And then I found out through the grapevine that the guy who has the banged up Camry can actually buy and sell the other guy in, like, overnight, like, easily.
Wow.
But he was like he like, and he wears, like, his dorky pants, and he's just like, "Hey, how's it going?"
Yeah.
And, like, that guy was able to buy and sell. It was, like, ironic, and, like, the other guy was, like, giving ideas and advice. The other guy was, like, just a random Joe Schmo who you would never imagine had any wealth. You'd imagine, like, he's more on the poor side. It was funny to see that, like, it's funny to see that either all these it's similar to, like, the titles and these things so they can feel,
Mhm.
and the other guy is just being,
Yeah.
you
I
know?
feel like that's just the natural state in evolution.
Mm,
They
yeah.
they they pull this identity to feel remember we were talking about
Yeah,
certifications. I
yeah.
think certification is a form of identity. And then once they start practicing and becoming the person, whatever they're supposed to be,
Yeah.
they start shaving off the identity. No more certifications. I don't
Yeah.
need these big houses. I don't need these big cars. They start to
They're just
consolidate.
like, I don't yeah.
And then
It's wasted energy.
it's
It's just
wasted energy. And then if you look at it theoretically, their cash flow increases
right.
because now they're not like jailed by what society
Right. But also
deems to
their
be great.
energy suddenly focuses like it's one pointed,
Yeah.
you know? And I think something interesting is like when people are like, yeah, I have so many businesses, I have so much stuff. And I think about my life, like
Hmm.
I have one of my siblings, and she's definitely entrepreneurial and far more successful than I am on the fiscal side.
Hmm.
And she's like, Yoni, why you like, shut 3 of those businesses down? Just keep that one business and focus on that. You know it's
Yeah.
good to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why did I open so many businesses?
Yeah.
I felt part of it probably was like, I'm so like to have my story,
I
as
did
opposed to
that.
just being like very very centered and focused about it. You
Hmm.
know?
I'm in that space now.
Yeah.
I had like 3 businesses at one point. I dissolved one and I was like, why am I like I'm trying to prove something, And now it's like, dude, who am I gonna serve? Like just naming this whole podcast was a big thing for me. That was probably the hardest because it allowed me to like, who do I truly serve? who do I connect with? Who do I
Mm.
want to spend my time with that understands and just like I get these deep relationships, and it's practitioners, it's teachers,
Mhm.
it's leaders, it's coaches.
Mm.
Anyone who's taking care of someone, I love being in the presence of.
Mm.
I gravitate. So like if you go to a big party, there's a Super Bowl party that's going to happen in the next few days.
Mhm.
Like for those of you guys that are coaches or leaders, who do you gravitate towards in that party? That's your audience.
Mm. Interesting.
And that's where you should be serving. That's where you should be communicating the most. If we both went to a Super Bowl party, I'd probably hang out with you.
Yeah.
To be completely honest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like that there's like little lessons that I've picked up along the way. And my coaches know I don't like to go to parties anymore.
Yeah.
And primarily because I gravitate to that one dude.
You could have just met him.
I could have just met him. I could have just had coffee with him.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that's where I'm at. I'm in like, who am I serving? Who do I love and like understand their pain, their struggles? This is the space.
Right.
So it's beautiful. So I want to ask a few more questions because I want to make sure you have enough time. 12:17, we good?
I think I have another like 15 minutes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I wanna ask kind of some low hanging fruit, because I think a lot of times people are anxious and having panic attacks.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give some like low hanging fruit, practical stuff that you do that allow you to be like, okay,
That'll help.
That'll help. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would say there's I'll say two predominant things with panic attacks. The number one thing is the nervous system. You have to find out how to regulate your nervous system, and not just not find coping skills. You have to find out how to strengthen it.
Okay.
So, meaning I'll say that over. For panic attacks, the number one thing you want to look for is how to strengthen your nervous system.
Okay.
And how do we do that? There's a lot of different ways, but ultimately your nervous system runs along your spine.
Mm-hmm.
So simple movements that involve breath, like if you Google Kundalini cat cow or
my wife showed me that, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. Have you tried them?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you do that for 3 minutes a day. You'll get high. It feels really nice. Mm-hmm. But your nervous system will get stronger. In fact, when I just do that practice and teach people how to breathe, those two practices together are such a strong banger for most people that resolves panic attacks. Mm-hmm. That's simple.
It almost seems so simple that it's like illegal, or like something's wrong with it.
And that's the thing, most people get feedback, but think about our branding. We've said it's so complicated. You have to go to this professional and they know all the answers, even though the guy himself is struggling with panic attacks and he drinks to deal with the problem, So it's like, I think the question that we have to think about is, if it's illegal, so what has worked?
Yeah.
And then most people don't have an answer. Mm-hmm. So then why don't you just give it a shot? It takes 3 minutes. You don't have 3 minutes, really?
Yeah.
But you have your panic attack for 10 minutes a day. So trust me, you have time. Mm-hmm. So I would say...
you don't have 3 minutes, you don't have a life, dude.
Yeah, and it's not possible. How do you not have 3 minutes?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're listening to this, you've already spent 3 minutes. But I think ultimately, that just basically you're inhaling and bringing the chest and spine, like you're arching the back, and then you're collapsing the back. And exhaling completely. So you're moving the spine, head to tailbone, both ways, as much like a credit card that you do want your spine, but if you don't want a credit card, you kind of bend it both ways. So you want to really bend your spine both ways. And you start off slow, and then you start building up a pace where the inhale up. Mm-hmm. It's about that pace.
3 minutes.
Yeah, 3 minutes. You inhale the end, hold your breath. Exhale, hold out. I would say you can Google Kundalini cat cow and reach out, or I could show videos and stuff. Yeah.
I'll put the attachment on there.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, sure. Yeah. It's only link access. You have to. I don't share it with the public. So,
cool. Okay.
So it's fine. They could have it, but it's link access.
Secret. Okay.
Secret. Yeah.
Okay.
So and the move and done there, if it's done a little quicker, the quicker you go, the more high you'll feel. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, what's happening is your body's going from, see, that's a funny thing. I remember working at treatment centers, and I had clients who had severe panic attacks, severe anxiety. But when I speak with them, you know what would make them anxious? Not just fearful things. Joy would make them anxious. And I couldn't wrap my head around it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, how could joy make you anxious? I'm like, it must be, every therapist says, borderline personality disorder. They don't know what to do, they slap on borderline. It's like a doctor doesn't know, he gives you a cortisone shot. It's like, I was like, what is going on? Mm-hmm. And now it's so obvious. Joy is a powerful emotion. anything powerful would overwhelm their nervous system and put them in a state of panic.
Yeah.
So it's not about good or bad. It's about overwhelm.
Mhm.
Can your body handle life? Can handle yourself? So that's really what the answer for most people is no.
Mhm.
So when you do these movements, you're going to a powerful state
You're
of,
getting into these physical
yeah, you're
positions
yeah,
too. Yeah.
totally. And most people, they'll go, very gentle, like,
Yeah.
I'm a ballet student.
Yeah.
No, you move powerfully, move like a
Yeah.
warrior.
Yeah.
Like that powerful state. And you're not hyperventilating. You're breathing through the belly.
Yeah.
It's in and out through your nose. But what's happening is you're taking your body to an altered state manually by
Mhm.
yourself. You're in control. You can stop at any moment.
Mhm.
So your body goes, I can go to states of sympathetic where my chest is out, and then I can go to parasympathetic, the
Yeah.
kind of shutdown state when you feel really shitty or bad.
Yeah, or
being like this.
angry, or even angry.
Yeah,
like that,
right.
Yeah.
So when you're angry, you might go here. Why? To shut it down,
Mhm.
right? Because you don't want to express
Yeah.
anger because it'll hurt you or someone else.
Right.
But in a sentence, this is to shut the system down. This is to wake it up, right? When you're like climbing a mountain,
Beautiful,
no
yeah.
one climbed the mountain. You're like, I climbed the
Yeah,
mountain,
yeah,
right?
they're up,
So
yeah.
exactly. So your hands are out, your chest is out. So you're going to both states powerfully, inhaling, engaging the sympathetic,
You're
exhaling
almost like you're
parasympathetic.
priming the engine to be able
Totally.
to
You're
experience
just
the whole
yeah,
emotion.
you're just taking the strings and you're pulling it. It's so simple.
Yeah.
And your nervous system is physiological. It's not psychological.
Mm.
Like you don't do talk therapy to a dog. Dogs get angry. Dogs get fearful.
Mm.
Your typical horse at a stable has disorders, anxiety disorders. There's things they do to help them.
Mhm.
And one of the things that when a horse is antsy, you know what it does? You put it out and it runs. It shakes its body. It goes through a run and moves its body. So it's like these things are natural things that we've deemed as weird. Every single religion, every single spiritual practice has chanting or mantra. You
Yeah.
notice that?
Yeah.
Right? And what happens when you talk? Or when people go to therapy, they talk. What happens? All these things, what does it do? It vibrates the vagus nerve.
Right.
Right? So it goes through, it's the 12th cranial nerve. It goes through the right ear,
Yeah.
through the voice box, down to the belly. And
Yeah.
vagus means wanderer in Latin, right? So it
Yeah.
wanders through the body. So every time you chant, you go, oh, what are you doing? You're vibrating that
Yeah.
nerve.
That's
And
why
it's calming your
karaoke
body
is
down.
so therapeutic sometimes.
Singing is super therapeutic. And what are you also doing? Exhaling really slowly.
Mhm.
Right? When you sing, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
what you're doing is you're exhaling. Your breath is like, instead of a second, it's like
Right.
10 seconds, 20 seconds.
That's so
So you're just de-escalating your body. And you're doing it in a fun way.
Mhm.
So now the difference between singing and I would say this is singing relaxes your nervous system.
Mhm.
This like strengthens it.
I love it.
Makes sense. And then we need
Okay.
strengthening. We have to stop being reactive. You don't say, oh man, my teeth smell. I better go to dentist.
Yeah.
You go brush your teeth every day. Floss your teeth, whatever you got to do. It's proactive.
Mhm.
So the whole mental health thing is don't be reactive, be proactive. Take your mental hygiene just like you do dental.
Okay.
Do it daily. Spend a few minutes a day.
Mhm.
Yeah. And don't expect that your teeth will go and everything will be fine tomorrow. But if you do something daily for your nervous system, like 1,000% chance that you'll have a better nervous system.
Okay.
And it can be built on. It's a system. You can have upgrades. You can develop it better.
Compounds. I
Yeah.
feel like it compounds. Okay, so you
That
do
was-
the cat cow for 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Was,
So that's a low hanging, easy fruit.
what was
is,
the other one?
I would say learning how to breathe.
Okay.
Most people just breathe through their chest. And the chest breath is, you can try, place one hand in your belly, one hand in your chest, and just inhale. So you're breathing through your chest, a little bit of your shoulders. First of all, think about practically, how much bang for your buck do you get? You have to push your ribs open just to take a breath. So every time you
Yeah.
take an inhale and exhale, thousands of breaths a day,
Yeah.
you're pushing your ribs to inhale. Now you get oxygen. It's a good payoff, right? Now your belly is completely open. There's nothing going on there. It's completely open space.
Yeah.
It helps with digestion, a lot of other things. And when you inhale through your belly, you massage the vagus nerve. So while it's a coping skill, it doesn't strengthen your nervous system. Every time you inhale through your belly and exhale through your belly, you're telling your body, chill. Chill. Thousands of times a day. Thousands. And when you make it a habit, it's autopilot. You go to sleep and your body is saying, chill.
Mhm.
Chill. It's free. It's like free money. It's like free chill.
Yeah.
Doesn't cost anything. It's right under your nose.
Mhm.
You're just inhaling and exhaling. So the goal is you start off lying down. I have a link for this one too. I could show you, but
Mhm.
you basically lie down, place one hand on your belly, one hand on your chest. See if you can isolate the belly breath. Once you get the belly breath down, like really get it down, then you bring in the chest, And once you do the belly and chest, so it's belly, chest, then bring in the shoulder. And then finally it's belly, chest, shoulder, exhale, shoulder, chest, belly.
Okay.
In that order.
3 minutes?
I would do it for 10, 20 minutes a day.
10, 20 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Dude.
And you could put music on,
Yeah.
just take a nap, relax, like 10, 20 minutes a day. And what you're doing is the goal is to do it no time, do it all times.
Yeah.
So you do it when you lie down. That's maybe the easiest. Standing is second hardest. And then sitting is maybe the hardest for people to do because you have to engage and separate the hip flexors and the abdominal muscles from the diaphragm. There's a lot of muscle isolation going on. So lying down is the best way to start. It takes 10 minutes a day. You can put a music on. You can listen to this podcast or whatever, it is. Like, it doesn't have to be a hard thing to do. And then eventually you make it a habit. So like this is the real key point. Like be obsessive for 1 week about your breath. Obsessive. Like put signs everywhere. Breathe. And every time you see that sign, you stop. You go, okay, belly, chest, shoulder, exhale, shoulder.
Oh, so you can actually do
exhale,
that.
Shoulders, exhale, belly. Well, you can actually inhale from the sides of your ribs, from your back.
Okay.
The whole back region. So it's more when you inhale through your belly, it's like a barrel expanding. So you can place your hands in the sides of your ribs like this, kind of like you're being bossy, but instead of placing your hands in your hips, they come up to your rib cage, and then inhale and push your hands with your ribs. Say you're pushing your ribs to the side.
Yeah.
And you can actually learn how to isolate the muscle more. And the same with your back. You place your hand in your back, you'll feel you can actually, the spine is there, but you can actually press it out. Okay. So your whole body expands like circularly, not one way.
Yeah. I think I'm breathing one way.
Yeah.
And I think it's like a quick, I always tell my coaches, all your emotions are stored in your body somewhere. If you don't have ways to move it and distill it and express it, it's going to eat you up and it's going to stay there. And here's what's crazy. You're going to like this because I've started I work out twice a day for the span of almost 3 years, no rest, which on my NASM and all was like, no, you need rest days. You need to have X amount of proteins. I think what's allowed me to maintain this amount of work capacity and all those crazy workouts on top of it is breathing.
I knew it. Yeah.
And I meditate 10 minutes every single morning. Dude, I used to take multi-protein shakes, multi-BCAAs, all of these supplements, dude, but I haven't taken literally any of them for recovery because I'm like, I feel good. I'm good the next day. And here's what's scary and people don't realize. They're so simple that I feel like it can cure a lot of these things that we think is medicine.
Totally. Yeah.
And it just blows people's mind. And I tell people like, oh, your knees hurt? Just roll out your quads. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is the first time it's never like, I normally have to take cortisone shots for that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these simple things are so simple.
Totally. And the breath is probably, I would say, one of the most powerful medicines we have. And I mean, I find the breath funny because it's free, it's easy, it's simple. Yeah. It's right under your nose. And it's like, it's really effective for like most things. I mean, think about if you just place your hand in your heart and take an inhale and exhale and slow down your breath. So you inhale, hold your breath for as long as you're comfortable without forcing it. And just tuck your chin in just a little bit to elongate the back of your neck. That's where the blood's coming in and out of. And then on your exhale as slow as you can. And then hold your breath out. As long as you're comfortable, don't push it. And slowly inhale. If you place your hand in your heart, you'll start noticing your heart responds to this. You'll feel your heart pounding, like, oh my God, what's going on? Now, what's happening then? Your body's sending so much nutrients, so much stuff, like blazing through your system. It's like putting it like just charging like a phone. You're just like, boom, it's charged. Yeah. So when you take those slow breaths, it forces the body to really move, So to the point where it's interesting. There was a couple of months where I was doing a certain pranayam, like a breathing practice. And I really wasn't doing much movements. And I'm like, Yoni, you should go for a jog or something. And I went for a jog and I was running and running and running. And I just didn't get out of breath. And I'm like, I'm running at that point. Yeah. And I'm just like, Yoni, why are you not getting out of breath? Like, what is going on? And I had to like really sprint to like just get somewhere. And I'm like, I didn't run in months. And all I did is strengthen my heart.
And your breathing capacity.
Yeah. Or I think when I say breathing capacity, it's how much oxygen do you get per inhale. Make sense? Your body exhales probably 50% of the oxygen you inhale. Now, part of the problem is we haven't trained our body to absorb more. Make sense? When you take a slow inhale, slow exhale, you're saying absorb more prana, more energy, more oxygen per breath because there's only so much. Then your body goes, okay, noted. Now next inhale is going to be deeper, richer, more powerful. And you do that all the time. You don't need to breathe in as much. You don't need to breathe out as much. And your breath gives you more. Make sense?
Wow.
The whole system works on breath. Our repair system, our body repair system, our digestion, right? That's all that ATP gets released when we have oxygen. You know, toxins in our body, the soreness, all that gets released when we breathe. When you inhale and exhale, what do? You push the lymph system. It pushes the waste out, which is what that often that like Charlie horses, that soreness is just toxins in the body, lactic acid. When you inhale and exhale, you're pushing it away and then you pee it out.
Oh my gosh.
You know? So yeah, like breath is super powerful.
So breath work,
Yeah.
cat cow.
Yeah, I would say those are low hanging, easy fruit.
But I feel like they're like magical powders. Jeez.
Yeah, the magical powers. I would say honestly, most mental health issues can get resolved with breathing. Most. Like, and I'm not saying immediately,
Yeah.
but if we went to schools and we just taught people how to breathe, like most of those issues would not have happen.
Yeah.
To the point where, like in my wellness center, Earth's Edge Wellness, we actually, like I can tell you whether the person is doing the practices because I'll know whether or not they have results. So I go, so you're not practicing, and they're like, no, and I'm like, I know, I know you're not practicing because if you were practicing, you wouldn't be doing the following thing.
Right.
You know, I watch them breathe in the session. I'm like, well, I know you're not practicing.
Right.
You know, so but the crazy part is, like, I'm thinking about anxiety, panic attacks, OCD, most of the anxious stuff.
Depression too.
Depression.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say there are specific breathing patterns like that will, like, let's say, resolve OCD, in my opinion, what I've seen. Maybe anecdotally, I don't have enough research to say, but I've witnessed so many people with OCD just changing their breath and maybe a specific breathing pattern, and it goes away. Like, and like they're to the point where they're just like, I just haven't had that thought in a week. It wasn't like I no longer have OCD. They're just like living their life. They don't have it. And then the other part is left for depression. There's like specific movements. It gets a little more complex. And I think part of the thing about depression is it's not just physiological. There's a psychological / energetic spiritual component. So anxiety is a little easier in a way, in my opinion. Depression, PTSD, all these, they're easier because they're more physiological, right? There is an identity component, who you believe you are. I'm ill, I'm sick, I'm mentally unwell. Those things will help you stay in an unwell place. And that's also true for depression. Depression, I would say I would add in also certain breathing patterns, certain foods, certain stuff to help them with because depression could be like a lack of gestalt. I don't know what's going on in life. I'm lost. Nothing really makes sense. My life shit. Like, there's certain, like, there could be depressive thoughts, things like that. I suck as a person type of depression. And there's also depression like, what is my purpose on this planet? Like existential, spiritual, a disconnect from themselves and the universe, you know, lack of connection. So there's other aspects. And then there's also like a cellular level. Some people are depressed because they're like cellularly low energy.
They're just like malnourished.
Yeah. It's like their cells are not malnourished. So someone like that, teaching them some powerful breath work would energize their body. If it was cellular, if it was energetic issue, it's cellular. But if it's like, why am I alive? Well, there's a psychological component and there's a more of a spiritual component. Like you have to find it has to make sense to you while you're around. You know, or you have to be okay with it not making sense. Either way. You know.
This is where it breaks my heart, right? Because we know this low hanging fruit of breathing.
Yeah.
You know, I'll get consults and I'll be like, "Okay, do you smoke or drink?" I want to say 50% say yes to both, or yes to one and no to another. When you look at it in terms of physically, when someone smokes, they take a deep breath in, they slow it down, and then they exhale. And same thing with drinking, they slow down everything. Right? Same thing with food. The act of eating food allows your breath slows down. So when people say, "Oh, dude, I'm an emotional eater," it's like, no, we just lack. You just lack the exercise of breathing. You just lack the exercise of moving your spine.
And that's what I do. Anytime someone's like binge eating, I ask them, okay, I want you to write down how you feel before and after. And what they often found is a theme. They feel a certain emotion before and after. And the question becomes did it help? Did this Chinese food or whatever it was, did the walk help? You know? And sometimes they go, no, it actually didn't help.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, so it's not even working.
Yeah.
What if we found something that helped, you know? And sometimes it really helps. And we go, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Can we find something even more effective, you know? And I think the area we spoke briefly about like medication. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's where a question of like some medications I found with certain clients really make a difference. And
Mhm.
I can't deny that sometimes it really helps. Sometimes it's like such a low level of help. You got
Yeah.
to wonder, like, are you okay with that low level of functioning?
Mhm.
Like, let's say SSRIs, there's so much research on them, but very little published research.
Yeah.
And the published research says it helps with suicidality,
Yeah.
people who want to kill themselves.
Right.
And that's awesome to help people, you know, maybe go to the gym,
Yeah.
get out of bed, do something. Awesome.
Right.
But going from low level of depression to happiness, SSRIs don't help with.
Yeah.
And in fact, research shows just the opposite. It keeps you in that low level depression.
Right.
So it's a question of like, are you willing to settle? Is that what you want? Like, kind of like, yeah, I'll take a pill and I'll be okay.
Yeah.
Like, is that enough for you? Are you okay with being okay? Or you go like, this sucks. I'm here. I made it in my life. I have the choices to do what I want, and I'm living a low power mode life.
Yes.
You know, that sucks. I don't want that.
I feel like that's
You
where
know?
it's like significantly abused. You know, the ones that are not in that terminal side where they're about to end their life.
Yeah.
Most, and these are some of my best friends, by the way. Some good friends that are on it. You know, they're anxious. Let's pop a pill. They're depressed.
Yeah.
Let's pop a pill. Let's do some drugs.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, dude, just breathe, exercise.
I think that's part of our, like, the power of branding, in my opinion. Like, when I tell people maybe they're like, oh, you're one of these like hippie, you just have like interesting philosophies. You probably do a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, dude, I actually just breathe. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, and like they never believe me, and they think I'm like something's off. Like, he's lying. He must be lying himself. He must be like. They have all these like. It's so fascinating. I was talking to someone recently, and he was like, for sure, like you're just not being honest with yourself. Then I'm like, sure, shoot. What am I not being honest with myself about? Like, what is it? You know? And he had his stories. I'm okay. I'm like, I don't see that for myself, but I'm able to hear you. I can hear you. I can hear your point. I can think about it. It doesn't sit with me, but you know, like it's something like it's almost like. It's almost like how our presidents like brand, like whether it was like you know, the Orange Man or Sleepy Joe. It's just like little adjectives or stories. It's marketing. Yeah. Now all of a sudden you think, oh, that guy's an idiot. Oh, this guy, you know, what he had, I don't know, a bigot. We had like certain words that came like that's bigot's Trump. Right. And you just say bigot, you know what we're talking about. It's so good. I say sleepy. What's the next word? Joe. It's like we've created these, like they're just master branders. And we've created, I believe our medicine industry, our health industry has branded holistic practices as like woo-woo or
it's
like
mystic.
Yeah, mystic. Yeah. And it's like, how less mystic can it be than your own damn breath?
It's obvious.
Like it's so not mystic. It's so you. And I think if you just take spirituality, you take mysticism.
Religion.
Yeah, take these things out. Like you just realize, like it was just functions. It was systems, and if they work, do them. If they don't do them. And it should be the same way with your pills. Like, you know, again, like I'm not a psychiatrist, but my experience is that when people find what works and they're open to it, you don't even have to tell them to drop it. They'll just drop it because they know it's stupid. You know, so I think it's just a question of. I think just like a breathing practice or just like a yoga or a workout or diet regimen, you have to question, what do you want and is it helping you? You know, and be brave enough, like kind of what you mentioned before about watching the guy work out and he was doing it wrong, but you saw he was getting results. Like be brave enough to go, maybe your whole story of how you see it, like maybe it doesn't serve you. Maybe it's not helping you. Maybe you're so adamant the way you're going to heal is going to therapy for the next 15 years and popping pills. And then maybe you look at your life and you go, you know what? I'm still not happy. I still don't have what I want. I'm still kind of struggling and I'm making like incremental changes. It sucks. You know, and maybe that's not good enough. And if that's not good enough, if you're saying, I don't want to have achy knees, then maybe it's time to say, this approach that you've been using isn't serving you. You know, maybe there's something else. You know, so, and that's the other point of identity, you know, where I think it's powerful, where, trying to put it into a sentence, we have identities around who we are, and I can have an identity that I'm wealthy, I'm smart, I'm rich, I'm intelligent. I can have an identity of I'm a yogi, I'm a therapist. I can have a identity as I'm struggling with mental health. I'm recovered. I'm recovering. These are all identities, and they all have a purpose, and they all help you. Even the illness ones, they help you.
Yeah.
And the question is what are they helping you with?
Yeah.
And the question is, can you drop that identity because maybe it won't help you get to your next level? So if I say, yeah, I just struggle with depression. Well, what does it help you with? Maybe it helps me understand why I don't pay my bills on time, or why I still live in my mom's basement, like whatever the story is, or why I can't get my act together, or stand up and communicate with my boss about how I don't like the way they're treating me. So I just say, depressed, man.
Yeah.
And that just gives me all the validation. He's depressed.
Yeah.
He's gonna stay here. Or maybe you know what? That story isn't working for you. Maybe you have to drop the depression story and say, my boss is treating me this way and I don't deserve to be treated this way. And depressed or not, this guy has responsibility for this body to make sure he's taken care of.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna take that shit from my boss anymore. So what needs to happen for this guy to get into a state, to get into his power, to get into his clarity, that he needs to speak up to his boss? Well, he needs to maybe control his breath. He needs to control his nervous system. He needs to feel more energized. He has to find a new way to see himself that feels better. Okay, then do all those things. Stop calling it depression and stop calling it a disorder.
Yes.
It's order. It worked for you.
Yeah.
And that's powerful.
I think disorder and disease is
it just keeps you there.
It keeps you there.
Yeah.
And naming it that it takes away the power
Totally.
from you. Like, it's a disease, so I'm not responsible for it.
Right.
So I can continue eating this cookie
Right.
forever.
I have a binge eating disorder. It's not disorder. It helped you deal with your mom's abuse. I don't know, your
Right.
dad's anger. Is that disorder? That sounds super orderly to me. You got to say thank you to your binge eating disorder, because if not for your binge eating disorder, you never would have made it this far.
Yeah.
Now, it's rainy boots. It's
rainy.
dry inside. Just take them off. Let's put on new boots that help you.
Yeah. And there's the words in the marketing side, right?
Yeah.
I think so. We did this practice with some of my coaches. And just like you said, every identity has its own benefits. I don't know if you ever played Super Mario. You ever played Super Mario
totally,
before?
yeah.
Right? So we named, because it was very easy to understand it for them. So like the turtle, Koopa, we placed that identity as hopeless. It's the homeless, right? The second one higher than that is a victim. And the victim is, we called it Peach. She's always in trouble.
Yeah.
She's always in trouble. And then the next level after that was Super Mario, which is a hero. Or sorry, villain, victim to villain, right? So which was Bowser. And then the next one was Super Mario, which is the hero, and then Luigi was the ally. And that's like the states, like that, the lowest state all the way to the highest state, which is ironically Luigi. And we'll explain why here in a sec. But every single identity has a benefit. So we're like, what's the benefit of being hopeless? Well, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
You could just be a turtle.
Yeah.
Right. And then the Peach, which is the victim, is the benefit is she's always being saved.
Yeah. Love,
She doesn't have to
attention,
spend-
connection, friendships,
Yeah.
sympathy.
And she gets the hero all the time. And then the villain side is he's complete control.
Yeah.
He has control of his life, but at the expense of hurting everybody else.
Yeah.
And then the hero is, he gets the princess one, right? And he's just like the villain, he's in control of his life.
Yeah.
The expense is he gets burnt out, right? Like he does everything himself. And then there's Luigi, which is a servant. He can help himself if he wants, but then he finds his passion through helping his brother, right? Being that support.
Yeah.
And I think every identity has its power and its weaknesses. A lot of times people that fixate in their identities because they're unaware of how to get there by low-hanging fruit, like breathing and exercising and cat-cows.
Yeah.
Right. And then the other side is just that's the only identity they see through marketing.
Yeah.
Which
they've eaten that marketing fruit.
Yeah. And which is like, I want to define marketing for people. It's what you see and what you hear. Yeah. And
it doesn't have to be a billboard. It could be your friend.
Yeah.
Most often your therapist. It's the people around you who are saying, it's normal to feel this way.
Yes.
Like, why is that okay? You see cats that are that sad?
Yeah.
Like, why? If you saw your plant drooping, you wouldn't be like, plants, they droop. You'd be like, give them some water, get them some sun. Like, what's going on? Yeah. For humans, Hey, he's human. It's not. It's natural. Why are we the only creature that's naturally depressed and naturally anxious? Like everything else on this planet is like evolving,
Yeah.
erupting, exploding, and like
It's changing,
totally shining.
adapting. Yeah.
And we're like, I mean, you're human. What can
Yeah.
you expect? You should be sitting in your like the most intelligent creature, one of the most like evolved, powerful beings on the planet. I mean, you're basically helpless.
Right.
Just like that's interesting because like the cat and the bird who just had his friend eaten by the cat are both happy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like,
So the marketing side.
yeah.
I have a theory. I was telling people this. Right now, we understand that if you eat fast food, French fries, triple cheeseburgers, you're going to get pretty big and unhealthy. And you're smoking cigarettes and you're drinking alcohol. You're not going to last long. And it's fast and it's quick. Right. And then now we're seeing content that are short. I have short content too, but I want to play my part in giving something that's different. Like we're seeing short content, TikTok, dances, all of these things, and we're consuming it. And it's creating a product right in front of you. And I feel the things that are the healthiest for you are often long and they're uncomfortable, longer content. You were saying it was like, oh, it only takes 12 years to get enlightened. You made it seem like it was short, but that's because you understand that consuming things that take time and that are long, scriptures, are actually what's healthy. So marketing short bursts, high colors, right? Billboards, those are like whatever you're feeding your eyes and your ears are now, I think it's going to start being more prevalent, like cigarettes, like causing cancer, short form and like high dopamine releases of content are creating the anxiety that you have, the depression that you have, the overwhelm that you have. But if you just curate what you eat physically, right? But you also curate what you see and hear.
What you eat energetically,
and the people you're surrounding with and what you're like, just the billboards and even just the content you're following, you're going to produce an entirely separate like outcome. And more into those higher elevated states like Luigi, like Mario, and even, I mean, like Bowser. Sure, that's better than the other two for me. So I think that's where I'm like,
because you see so many people in like a peach state or and you're just like, or Koopa, just it's just sad because especially when you see where you can take them, and you're just like, dude, it's just like 3 doors down, and they're like,
it's too long.
And you're like, I wish I could just grab your butt and just throw you there because it's so easy. Like, I think maybe what I'm saying in just 12 years, I realized like what you get, the payoff from going from Peach to Bowser or Bowser to Mario, the payoff is so great that the work is easy. It's so obvious that it's helpful, that the work isn't work anymore. I think when you're so clear about what you'll feel, that it's not work. I wonder if that's part of it.
I feel like that's part of it. The work is easy, but the time it takes is long. And that's where we're in this age of everything so instant. But
I think though, you see, instant's fine. It's a question of disconnect. We're so disconnected that we need something so shiny
there you go. Yeah.
to connect.
Now,
I think the thing, like eating a healthy food, it feels good.
Right.
But we're so disconnected, we don't know what it feels like, or our food is that crappy. But like, but I think the things in life that are good for us, like they actually do feel good, but we're so disconnected, and we've chose to be disconnected because we want to deal with pain, we want to deal with stories, whatever it is. So we disconnected. So we went offline. And now we're just kind of floating around disconnected from our body. And then marketing just scoops us right up and goes, here's a shiny thing. Here's something tasty. Here's this. And then next thing you know, you're looking around and you're not back here. And when you're back here, oh, it feels so good when I went to the gym. It feels so good when I went for a run. It feels so good when I challenged myself. It feels so good when I had that delicious meal, the nutritious meal. Like intellectually, I'm around someone who loves me and cares for me. It feels so good, and you would never do anything different. Yeah.
Okay, so I got to send this up because you have an appointment here in a little bit. Final question.
Sure.
What makes an amazing practitioner?
I would say curiosity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Curiosity.
Yeah, and if I can explain in a sentence, if you're curious, then you can learn. and the real stuff happens in real time. Like the real wisdom you're going to share happens in the office with the person
Mhm.
or wherever you are.
That's actually
So
one of our values is
yeah,
curiosity. It's huge.
yeah. Otherwise, your capacity is obviously stilted,
Mhm.
and you're not going to be able to help out this specific person.
Yeah.
You'll be able to help people with this issue,
Yeah.
but with this person, you have to be curious. And when you're
Mhm.
curious, like all doors open up, and everything, all the keys are
It's
yours.
abundant. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's where true healing starts is questions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes practitioners so dangerous because they start out with that instead of just prescribing right off the bat.
Yeah.
And that's the energy you have. Let's just question it for a little bit. Let's just sit here for a little
See,
bit.
let's try different angles.
Yeah.
Try on these pants, try on those.
Yeah.
Yeah. I that's the thing. I feel like the medical fields, the medicine fields, they could be so powerful if they were curious.
Yeah.
If they were curious to say what works. We don't have to, I guess, like, you know, hammer sees a nail.
Yeah.
And most practitioners, I guess, when starting off with their credentials and stuff, they just have what they learned and they just apply it everywhere.
Yeah.
And obviously
Like,
that
just
works
use
for
the
no one.
hammer.
Yeah, because it's just a hammer.
Yeah.
So it's like you're a mechanic and you just like hammer everything.
Mhm.
Like I have a oil change, give the hammer.
Yeah.
Like bam bam. You know, it's
Yeah.
at some point, you know, it's more subtle. So I think that curiosity piece allows you to really see what tool is needed.
Mhm.
You know, it allows you to see what the next step is. So
And
yeah, I
it's
think
just
it's important.
longer. I think having the answer really quick is cool, but then once you start asking the questions, you live in this level of uncertainty for a moment, which
Yeah.
is probably uncomfortable for a lot of people.
But it's golden.
But it's golden.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so Yoni, where can we find you? I know you have a website. We'll put the links in to
Sure,
some of
yeah.
the work that you do.
Okay, I guess I can share like
Yeah, you can say
website,
website.
Instagram,
Oh, for sure.
stuff like
I'll
that.
put that on the link
Okay,
too.
sure, yeah. So yeah, the website, we have our wellness center is EARTHS
Mhm.
EDGEWELLNESS.com,
Okay.
earthsedgewellness.com. And we do a lot of cool stuff. It's obviously about wellness, not just about illness.
Mhm.
You can also find me on like Instagram. So it's YONI_, last name is Banayan, BANAYAN.
Yeah, I'll put that all in
Yeah,
for
it's a
sure.
long one.
Yeah.
I guess it's probably the best ways to reach me. It's Instagram
Yeah.
or email is fine also.
I love
guess.
it.
Yeah.
Guys, you have to find him because his business model is I'm gonna heal you and you're never gonna see me again.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to, we'll probably chop on that business
Yeah.
model because I think that's how every business model
Yeah,
should be.
and I feel like otherwise, why are we doing this?
Yeah,
Like it
like
has to be effective.
that's
So
that's my definition of true medicine.
yeah,
You use it once and then they're good.
yeah.
Right?
And that's my definition of results. Results means you're not talking about this anymore.
Yeah.
It's over. That's results.
Exactly.
Results is when you're not going, I have a solution for my pain issue. No, the pain is no longer here. You're talking about something else because that's so far in the past.
Mhm.
That's results.
I love it.
Yeah.
So guys, if you guys like this episode, I know we went deep into multiple topics, but this is what it's like to really work with someone that holistically looks at the whole picture and not pigeonholing themselves into just one topic. And when you can really look at the picture as a whole by asking those questions, practicing things on your own and seeing the results, you can truly be effective as what you see here. So I'm pumped that you guys got to meet Yoni. Again, share it with as many people as you can. Practice those things. Breathe. Cat cow for 3 minutes.
Yeah, and I'll share the link for that for sure.
Yeah, and I'll do all that. Guys, thank you. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.
Thank you.